be you. When you hide your feels from me, why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together, better as one. Better together, better as one. Better together, better as one. Better together, Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. Cause we're better together, better as one. 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 I've been waiting here for a little while. Keep me on my toes, 'cause that's just your style. Baby, can you make your move? 'Cause we don't have forever. Baby, I could take your pen turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
What's the challenge? A little bit greater HP for Victor. The boosters are incredible.
The separation could be the reason why they don't close out this game. Swaying on the top.
I give it, look in my eyes.
His lying axe looking to swing on through on the side of it.
I got a lot on the line. This with a different approach. Only spend time in the boat.
Close together and groups up. A good nade might find all they're looking for. Leg C, leg X.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Western Europe Fall 2022 season. I'm Jason Kaplan, your host, and we got Maxman, who does phenomenal impressions. Maybe he'll do one of them on the show for us later on today. And Kalaris, who is secretly John Allen. Gentlemen, we've had an exciting first day of play here, but Max, we've had one team stand out on top, and that's QODEX.
Yeah, QODEX, I mean, really good start for the first day here for Team Do. We didn't really expect too many things from, didn't know what they were going to bring to the table here, especially with some CIS teams being in the lobby, but they were extremely consistent in that first day. 2 chicken dinners and a 3rd place. The question stands now, can they replicate that? And I guess we'll see today.
Yeah, Kalaris, so we've obviously saw, another team as well, Eastern Stars, be able to show, I guess, that power we saw in them when it came to one of the first seasons within PMPL. Fantastic to see the Warlord and his team back in action.
Performance? No, Eastern Stars, of course, here. Yeah, you're right. I mean, with those two first games that they were able to show, really a lot of flexing out when we saw them holding down Milta the way they were, and then moving into that second game, converting into a victory as well. So I've got high hopes. I mean, obviously, the last 2 games weren't as stellar at the end of today, but it was going to be difficult keeping up with, I guess, the great performance that we saw QODEX put up, as Max Man's just alluded to.
Yeah, well, for all you guys who are watching at home as I slur my words, it's just very early for me when I'm recording this. You make sure to check us out on social media as well. You get all the PUBG Mobile esports channels with Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, everything out there, Facebook. Yeah, right under Max. You know what, Max, you do this so much better than me. Yeah, you should host this.
I think the social media. You know what? I'll take us down tomorrow. You take it today. It's fine.
Okay, I'll take it today. We'll do it tomorrow. We still have action coming up tomorrow. Then we have a little bit of a break. But we also have Monster Energy, the official energy drink partner here at PMPL. And I'm curious to see what Max will drink Monster out of this time. It was the chocolate fountain before. It didn't work too well. However, he won the hearts of all the fans out there for the effort and a year's supply of Monster Energy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I must put some gelatin in there to make it like a little bit more viscous, but I don't think that will be allowed.
Monster flavored Jello.
Sounds pretty good, actually. Actually, that's
not
pretty
bad.
decent. Yeah.
You know what? Hit us up. We'll sell you guys the idea, Monster, if you're watching. Make sure we each get equal cuts. Let's take a look, though, at the overalls, right? We talked about QODEX being on top. We talked about Eastern Stars having a good performance when it came to the first 2 matches yesterday. But we can see the current lead that QODEX has been able to build. The only thing I will say here, Max, to be fair, yeah, 27 points is a decent amount after 1 day, but they did win 2 chicken dinners, and obviously the lobby is a little bit stacked towards the top here in terms of points.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of times for teams to catch up, right? 1 day, it just gives you a little bit of a head start right there. Currently, what, 20-point average per game with those 2 wins they got yesterday, so they are in a very solid spot, but there is a chance the teams are going to catch up, right? Seeing the performance of Eastern Stars, even Game Lord with that first game that was absolutely insanely well done from them. I think that we can expect a lot of teams to catch up, especially the teams lower on the rankings. We've got a lot of those CIS teams down there that I don't think they're going to stay idle, right? I think that they had a bad day. They're going to go back to the drawing board and come back even stronger today.
Okay, well, looking through, I mean, we have Game Lord there in 3rd place. Fantastic to see Game Lord as well, by the way, Claris, that we didn't really get to touch on here at the start of the day. This was the team who won the league stage last season, and then when it came to the finals, unfortunately fell a bit short. They're a phenomenal team, and they showed us yet again in that first match why they deserve to be here.
Oh, definitely so. As we were kind of talking about at the beginning of yesterday, as much as, you know, Trazen's no longer on that roster, I don't think they needed that as the depth of the roster. The 4 players that they're constantly fielding, very, very powerful indeed, and we're expecting them, I think, probably to take at least one of the top spots here. One thing that surprised me yesterday to a certain degree, but happily surprised, I suppose, was Death Machine on Miramar. You saw them in 4th place just before. They got that 4th place with 8 eliminations, and then a 1st place with 8 eliminations on Miramar as a whole. And I'm excited to see if they can continue converting on Miramar with strong performances like that. Because, I mean, if 1 or 2 things don't go awry for them and they have more utility in that first Miramar, they actually could potentially win both Miramars in one day, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I would say, though, I think the circles are very favorable to some extent. So I want to see how they can deal with that. I think also potentially to some extent, you can also say that for QODEX. So I want to see, like, was really hard circles for both of these teams. Can they find some consistency? If they can prove that today or in the next few days, I'm going to say these are teams that can potentially remain on top for the long term.
Oh, he didn't say it. He didn't say the word yet, Claris.
Not yet.
He didn't say one of the 2 that always come out of you guys.
Vocabulary.
He's improving. We know he's also improving QODEX. Let's take a look at their player stats here across the day yesterday, so you can see who was really staying out for their roster. And actually, it's going to be Vito. 2,500 damage done, 13 eliminations. But the thing is, and it's something we've said so many times, gentlemen, you got to have more than 1 star on your team. And right now, MoneyKen is looking to fill that 2nd role.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Vito, he was so good. He tried to stay a little bit hidden. He was trying to call himself Omar, but we knew all along it was Vito. It's all fine. But yeah, 2,500 damage.
Put on a pair of glasses with a mustache. He's like, you don't know who I am.
Wait a minute, we know this guy.
A mustache over his mustache. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. No, but yeah, MoneyKen and Vito were definitely the 2 big stand-up players. It's kind of similar, I would say, to like what you see from, you know, a stalwart where you have like 2 main fraggers and then you have like support and your IGL. You can have a synergy like that. That's completely fine. And having 2 fraggers, I think, is a minimum. And I think so far they hit that mark. So good for QODEX.
Is that why we always lose, Claris, when we play Pokemogi together? Because we have only 1 fragger, which is you.
Well, I did just win a solos squad game, you know, a day or 2 ago, 13 limbs, you know, doing all right for myself. But you know what, Jason? I think our fortunes are going to change. Don't you worry.
I think so. They have to at one point. We're eventually going to win a game together as a squad when I'm sandbagging the team. But you know, he's not sandbagging. Eastern Stars. Let's take a look at them up against our #1 team of QODEX and the stats between the 2. Because, again, this team from Romania, I'd say, even since we saw them in the first season, have been the most dominating team when it's come to Romania in our eyes. They fell off a little bit when it came to, like I'd say, a couple seasons after the first one that we had last year, but they started to step up here more importantly, and they're starting to pick up their elimination game, which I feel really fell off when we look back to spring.
I mean, the first 2 games, it looked brilliant. I was really hyped to see how they were going to perform coming after those first 2 games. The last 2, I mean, yeah, really didn't convert too much, but I think we're still in the world where Eastern Stars might be the roller coaster team again here in PMPL. It's just one day. It's still early to tell, but as we take a look back at these first game moments, you see the barrier that they've set up, and they actually, again, use VIRTUS.PRO to their advantage, taking out TJB, and then the enemy of my enemy is my enemy, as we were talking about yesterday, and just took out VIRTUS.PRO from there as well. So, and this as well, just locking down Death Machine as they're coming out. So I think they really understand the lay of the land. Before this moment occurs here for Eastern Stars, they had a 2-2 split across the road from one another. So they know that they need an anchor position wherever they need to go if the circle actually shifts hard, which we see a lot of in PUBG Mobile, and they understand that they have to be able to adapt quickly on the fly.
Yeah. I have the impression with Eastern Stars, when you compare their previous season to this season, I think that they just opened their third eye in a way on yesterday's games, where they are a lot more aware of how teams are going to rotate and adapt to the circle. So that 2-2 split in particular you mentioned, it shows they know where teams are positioned. They put a lot more focus around their scouting position, and off the back of that, you get better positions. And if you got good positions, you can play more aggressive. So I think it just basically worked out good for them yesterday, and I hope they can remain consistent. I think that's the main issue we saw in the past, is they would go up and down. But if they can play on this level, for the long term, I think they could be a really good contender for this season once again.
Yeah, and you guys at home who are watching might be wondering, like, why are you guys talking up Eastern Stars so much? Maybe, you guys didn't watch back, a year and a half ago. But, I mean, this team came onto the scene and surprised so many different people that Claris specifically ordered something for a bit on the show, and he hasn't been able to use it ever since then. This is like over a year ago he's had it, and we're hoping to see the Warlord continue to reign supreme here. But let's take a look at today's matches. Things have switched up a little bit. Remember, yesterday we did have the double Erangels, the double Miramars, and one Sanhok. However, today we're having double Sanhok, double Erangel, and one Miramar. And when we go into tomorrow, we'll have a different set of maps as well. This is just to make sure to balance out that every team plays everything equally, because we do have groups coming back into effect here, as you can see towards the top hand side of your screen, with Group E sitting out.
Yeah, I mean, we brought up one topic, right, before this show actually went live with Kalaris, which was TJB. We got double Sanhok. Are they going to go back to their summer drop? Because they got hot drop yesterday by MUERTE, if I'm not mistaken, and they got absolutely wrecked in, what, 15, 20 seconds tops. So the thing is, we also saw in PMWI, something very similar happened with like Vampire, and there was another squad, I think it was also the side of Enigma Galaxy. It was not working out, but they were very stubborn and they stuck to it. You got a lot of Sanhok matches throughout the entirety of this tournament. I would say if this keeps happening, I would like to see a change, but knowing TJB, they might not go through with it.
Yeah, they need room to be able to kind of breathe when it comes to the style that they usually bring. Round 9, actually, is the second Sanhok of the day, and I believe MUERTE would not be in, but TJB would be. So technically, on the second Sanhok of the day, they would have some room if this hot drop was to occur, again for the first one. So we'll see how that plays out, but definitely I think a lot of our focus is potentially on that, because they were able to get a lot of points from Sanhok in the previous seasons. But if this keeps happening, maybe that will be stifled.
Maybe, and obviously we're going to find out a little bit later on today. You guys at home, though, one thing we do like to try to help you guys with is to improve your own game. That's why I don't give tips. That's why I have Maximin and Kalaris here to be the ones to do so. But we do have a quick little video we put together of some tips of how to play Sanhok a little bit better.
Among all the competitive PUBG Mobile experiences, Sanhok comes in as the fastest one for its compact size and brief zone delays. Therefore, keeping up with the Sanhok pace is a must to excel in its guerrilla warfare. Loot has never been an issue in Sanhok, with level 3 gears scattered all over the map. Whether you are the Lords from Paradise Resort or a lurker from the extreme corners like Bantai, every team gets their hands full of lucrative loot no matter where they drop. However, young players often make the mistake of looting for an extended period of time to build the perfect loadouts and let the zone surpass them. Unlike other maps, rotations in Sanhok are often made on foot, as the zone centralizes pretty fast. So staying in the blue can cost you dearly when a team inside the zone senses your presence. All they have to do is stop you from advancing, and with each passing second it becomes more difficult to step inside the zone ever again. With zone collapses starting as quick as 30 seconds, players will never be able to make it in, while the zone damage forces you to halt and pop healing items. This makes it even harder to keep up with the shrink speed. Therefore, prioritize the circles over loot. If you are a loot goblin, consider dropping into a central location in the map where the distance between you and the safe zone is much shorter. Now, when you have the center, you can back off teams in a similar fashion and keep them at a disadvantage. Make sure you are always on the move in Sanhok whenever you are not at the center of the circle. The edges are far more dangerous in this map, with multiple teams crashing into each other as the circle closes in. In the worst case scenario, where you're sure that you won't be able to make it into the safe zone, the heal battle meta has got you covered. Professional teams tend to carry as many healing items as possible, especially first aid kits, that are available in abundance in Sanhok. All healing items are then given to one player who stays out in the blue zone and continues to use them while the rest of the team tries a desperate push into the safe zone. Even if the push fails, the heal battle can guarantee you a good placement in the match, as the end circles eliminate most of the teams trying to fight their way in. But if you are confident that you can take the win, you are welcome to take your chances in the guerrilla warfare.
Now, if only John Allen could do that when we actually played together. He has some great tips there, but to be fair, there are people who just have a natural feeling of the game. There are people who know what they're doing, but they can't execute it with their hands. I definitely fall under that category. But either way, the teams, they're going to know how to play Sanhok here, and they better know because they're playing it twice today. At least some groups will be playing it twice today. But gentlemen, I mean, I'm curious, what are you looking forward to the most while we have a quick minute here of what's coming up today? For me personally, I'm looking towards Na'Vi. I'm looking towards TJB in particular. I want to see these teams step up if they want to make me a believer again of what they can do and what they can bring to the table here.
For me personally, I would like to see two teams in particular, one of those being Na'Vi. I think that's pretty much a given. And also Unicorns of Love. I saw the chat yesterday. I think I saw 90% of people spamming Crypto in the chat in particular. So there's a lot of expectations there. So I would like to see Crypto, and more specifically Unicorns of Love, get a good day today.
For me, I guess I want to see if QODEX can keep it up. I mean, it's not just the 2 wins that they got off the back of yesterday. They got themselves a 6th place with 2 eliminations, a 3rd place with 9 eliminations. That kind of pace is pretty extreme relative to the rest of this lobby. I don't think, this is a little bit pessimistic, I don't think they can keep that pace up, but we will see. If they do, I'll not eat a hat. I'll shave Maxman's eyebrows.
You heard it here first, everyone. He's going to shave Maxman's eyebrows again. His eyebrows are now on the line. But one thing I realized, guys, we didn't even really talk about the format today. And if people missed out on yesterday, then they have no idea how things have shifted. So previously, we had the league stage and super weekends that would repeat 3 times. Points in league stage would get you into super weekend, and only the points from super weekend would stick around to get you into the finals. This time, we're doing a 3-phase format. Look at this perfectly. So teams will play out their matches every week, and then the top X amount of teams will advance, or will play an extra match. The top 12 will play a Livic. And the points you get at the end of that phase will work towards points you get in the league stage. So if you finish first place at the end of that phase, you get 20 points added to your tally to use in the finals. You get an advantage over other teams. Super important to remember, and we'll be having 3 phases, but there'll be 4 different ways you can win points. So after each phase, and then the total after the 3 weeks. So you could potentially go into the finals with 80 points.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. And for us, as we talked about yesterday, one of our favorite changes about this season's format, because we were fans of seeing teams have like 100-200 points more than any other team in the lobby and then start on 0. This is such a great change, and every match is going to matter.
Exactly. And every match towards the end also really matters, right? And that's the excellent thing. Sometimes we get into these seasons where it's like, yeah, we kind of know the top 16 that are already going to go into that final. So it's like,
well, we know.
Well, you know, but, you know, ultimately now, even just an extra placement in those top 16 moving into that last week, moving forward, might be the difference between a few extra points. And that going into the final is obviously a big deal.
Yeah, compared to like previous seasons and other regions too, you would see teams have a really poor league stage and a really good finals and then be like the champions of the region. That's just not going to happen anymore. If you want to be the champions of the region, you have to have a good finals and also a really good league stage. If you have both combined, you are a contender for the championship and of course, potentially PMGC just literally just around the corner. So this is going to be a very interesting season for the teams.
Yeah, hopefully gone are the days of having a team who can be really good in long format tournaments and teams that can be good in short format tournaments, because obviously it's a little bit different between the two. But gentlemen, it is time to switch things up here on the desk action, throw it over to our commentators as the first match of the day is ready to go. John on and Blank, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jason. And the desk, we are getting into the first match of the day, Blank. We are going to be looking at Sanhok, as the boys have been alluding to.
We are heading over to Sanhok very, very shortly here. Interestingly enough, I like what the guys talked about on the desk. There was several things that they talked about because it was quite the massive information that was sent through there towards us. The way I see it, though, is that like that little bit at the end there with the 80 points potentially on the line coming into the final is the big thing. And you guys at home should be really, really excited looking towards PMGC, because we're going to have some of the best and most consistent teams coming through into that PMGC. And it's going to be all the more harder now to actually push through and get that top placing spot. However, again, QODEX, can they keep up this pace? That's the question that Kalaris posed. We will see if it doesn't happen. I do love that Jason turned into a game show host because Max's eyebrows are now on the line.
Oh, you'd love to see it. Which box is it in? I don't know. Do you want to stay? Do you want to swap? What's the banker saying? Well, we'll have to find out. We're getting into Sanhok, though, as the teams will take to the skies once more for our very own game show.
Heading straight into this one, Sanhok, start of the day. You always love to see it, honestly. And with Sanhok already the playing path coming through, we're heading right over the island up towards the northwest side, see where these players do start to drop in.
Starting off, just coming over Quarry now. Money Ken coming in with most eliminations, tying it up with not Omar anymore. Good
Vito.
On the top there. Damage similarly positioned there, but with Vito sat at the top. Looking for hot drops right now, and PIONER has a whole host of players above it, but I imagine some are dropping shorter, some are dropping longer. NEXUS seem to be stopping in PIONER. MUERTE all the way down to Sami. Take Aim Gaming potentially over to Narcam.
The Omar is a lie. It is Vito, but they're not playing this match on Sanhok. Various other teams in here. PIONER kind of being that dark horse, but already they are racing out of the gates. It's Hamo with the DBS in hand. Fash with just the Molotov. And send some grenades in, but Hamo already starts things off strong. But nice nade!
Pops it back in, gets that refrag, but low HP, unfortunately, leaves them in a disadvantaged situation. Another shot from the shotgun around the corner, though, is good. Brings ARB a little bit lower yet again. ARB in the back foot on this fight. In comes the push, through the window with the UMP. Backlines for Jamaz, cooking up a nade. Wadir is on the forwards position, trying to scout out that information. That's been cooked. Is it going to find the damage? Not quite, but the window is going to get peaked as well, and Wadir is going to fall. 2 players now standing for ARB.
Jamaz on his lonesome, Hamodi very low. Not much loot left around. The nades from PIONER have been absolutely unreal. So on target. You can't get face-to-face with the DBS, but what you can do is cycle those grenades around the corner and let them do it for you. And Hamodi has to just send for the hills as PIONER pick themselves up a very, very dominant win there. Unfortunately, they do lose Fash in the process. Not able to bring him back up again, but 3 elimination points and bootcamp all to yourself in a very central spot here in the circle itself. You know, this is a great, great start for them.
Certainly is. It'll be good news to start, and they'll get all the loot. Looks like they're still wary of people in the boot camp. They are checking those angles. They have flushed out the only other team that did drop with them, so I wonder if they think someone else has pushed in.
Well, Hamodi left, right?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so you don't know if Hamodi's still here, right? But he is immediately just trying to look for some more placement points, which is fair enough to him. PIONER down to 3 with 3 eliminations, but in the meantime, Game Lord did drop very close to Eastern Stars. Were able to flush one of their players. Eastern Stars tried to cross that bridge early to get up towards Hatin. On the other hand, it is Big who have played very, very close to that western coast, allowed Na'Vi without fault to get up towards that northwest island mountain, which is fair enough because they picked Big apart in their first Sanhok yesterday. This time just giving them a big breath, honestly, and I'd do the same because it was not pretty what happened to Big there, especially with that being their stomping grounds for so long. Game Lord, though, coming dangerously close to Hamodi.
Very close, could get spotted out. I mean, you were talking about things that didn't go so well yesterday. I'm looking at TJB, right? The desk were talking about it just now. Not on their Sami drop, they dropped instead all the way up north towards Cow Blank.
Yeah, just completely sending off kilter there, which is fair enough. I mean, then no MUERTE drop in, and for TJB, they just want to loot up. I'll talk about this team once again, just because it's very topical in this scenario. The Infinity, a very, very good team over from the Asian region. And obviously, they drop up towards Tatmok and Cow and go for a split up there. And oftentimes, they would head for a heal-off in the late game. So this still works out in their favor, just because a lot of teams will be coming up this way. The only problem is you're much closer to a lot of teams that might drop Paradise Resort, Mongnai, even down towards Boot Camp. So you're slightly more limited in your rotational paths and taking your time to get into the circle to set up for that heal strat, which is the problem maker. Game Lord on high alert, though. Doesn't check the corner.
Unfortunate spray from the M4 is good on one, but not so solid on the other. Victor falls, but the rest of Game Lord will be able to get him back up with not really too much to worry about there. First knock over towards Victor, and Game Lord can continue on the north side of Boot Camp.
Seemed like he was very hesitant to come through the door, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. stepping in, stepping back out again, but in the end just runs into the room, immediately starts looting. So I feel like, you know, that's one of those cases, you kind of an autopilot, right? You dip in, you expect someone to shoot you. When you don't, you just go fully in anyway. That's the difficulty with Sanhok, is you really do have to treat every single building as if there's a threat around the next corner, in which case there was there from Hamodi. Unfortunately for ARB, though, they will be going down in 16th place with just 1 elimination point, so not a lot of points gained there for them early on, especially dropping in boot camp. You know, it's a risky drop. PIONER drops on top of them. And from yesterday, it's very strange for me seeing PIONER drop here in boot camp, considering they were a little bit of a slow starter. They played edge a lot of times, they were very passive, slowly accruing those elimination points over time before they banked themselves a hefty number towards the end. But it didn't come at the cost of a lot of team wipes. It was just a lot of single eliminations here and there that they would just add to the tally. But this time they're going they're just going absolutely blazing into this map, which is fine with me. And I like the change of pace.
I mean, get it done. Why not? Grab some points, as you say. Hopefully seeing more of that in the future. TJB with Lin in the Stalker's outpost, the Watchtower. Might be able to spot a player from VIRTUS.PRO as they move away from their Camp Bravo Mongnai split drop on the northeastern coast. The MADBULLS in Paradise Resort pretty close by as well.
Yeah, MADBULLS haven't had to contest with anyone in Paradise Resort, and they will get up very nice and looted. And Paradise Resort gives you some nice scouting positions, even just from branching out just a tiny bit, right? You step outside the compound, you're onto the rocks, you have a little bit of high ground to play around with. If not, you know, you can just escape. You can see there off towards where Monkey's positioned into the tree line, right? So there's a lot of areas you can jump to in Paradise Resort. It does give you some favorable escape paths. I think the issue with Paradise Resort that you find most likely is that it's one of the only compounds that you can comfortably fit 2 teams in, and you can get looted at the start whilst also staying fairly apart from one another with the rooftops that you can play around with. In boot camp, you drop in, you're likely to see that conflict straight away because you don't have super high buildings, you don't have areas to hide into well. So it's less so like Picardo, right, where 2 teams can sit there all game long.
All of Big in the pickup truck. Getting a little bit of a pick-me-up right now on that northwestern island. Looks like they're going to rotate down for a boat and go for a wide swing here. Potentially, probably up to the north. Imagine we'll be seeing them try and land around Cow in about 2 minutes.
All right. Respect. We'll see what happens. With this circle in particular, you still got all 3 islands technically, but you are right, John. It's looking like it's leaning up towards that northeastern side. Getting towards Cow, though, difficult. You might want to head towards those paddy fields just off the west side of Tongjiabao. A decent place to play around with. Obviously, it does leave you open slightly towards Eastern Star's position. In this case, though, not a huge deal for them either, considering Eastern Stars, they're down their luck at the beginning of that game with a revolver taking down Keme. Sorry, not Keme. Bazzi there. So they still have their long-range specialists in Kemi, so this is good, especially for looking across that river.
But it's likely that they are going to have to cross that river at some point, right? And that's the brutal part. RV making that cross now, seemingly, on the confluence crossings on the south side of that northwest island. At the moment, Take Aim Gaming not quite in a position to fully slow this one down, and actually nobody on the eastern shore compound either. So Na'Vi might be able to get ahead of the game here. The circle shrinks fairly central.
I was thinking it was going to lean a bit further up towards that northeast side, but again, this is another very central circle here. We're really not determined exactly where we're going to head, especially if we get you know, a southwest shift or a northwest shift. You're still looking at some really rough rotational paths for a lot of these teams. So I would imagine for the time being, it's most of these teams that head down towards that South Island, which are going to come into conflict with one another. Na'Vi, though, M762 and Tixie's hands, this guy, I always mentioned that he was just the raving dog on the team. You send him in and he just absolutely blasts players. Very, very strong. The assassin. See what he can get done, but already a Molotov over the top, perfectly placed there.
Trying to burn everyone down there. Tixie, maybe spotting an angle, but no, not quite. Not just yet. Toffee's backs up on the moped, and there's 2 of them. for Take Aim Gaming. They are going to leave their forward player down and out to Matic.
Really nice rotation, actually, from Na'Vi. I mean, they instantly abandon that island, especially the mountainside, to come down here to just kind of secure that pathway if they need to head over towards boot camp. And the best way they can do that is by denying the team that plays down towards ruins. So I feel like this is a really heads-up decision for them to immediately get across the water and play the wall that's in that area just around the compound. Very, very well done. Super, super heads-up play, and I feel like, you know, this is maybe more of the Na'Vi that we were expecting. Yesterday felt a little bit slow, but again, it seemed that they had some issues on their side, which they weren't really able to rectify on their own, but it feels like, you know, they're a bit more in unison today.
Hopefully get a little bit better off the mark there, as you say. Na'Vi with that first point so far for them in this game. VIRTUS.PRO still on this northeast side. Slower than TJB to move, not pushed past the MADBULLS just yet. Big didn't take the boat from all the way on the west side. Instead, they've gone up to the north shore near Hartin and are on foot currently. Haven't crossed. Game Lord on the top of the hill north of boot camp right now with SHOCKWAVE and PIONER down the hill.
MADBULLS not likely to move from Paradise Resort for a little while. Again, like I said earlier, it gives some really good scouting options, especially with the buildings up on high. And they're quite far into the circle as well, so there's no really reason to move there. Nano did pick up his first airdrop. Saw some level 3s on board. It really did surprise me for a second. I was like, wait, Game Lord got a loot drop? I don't see it anywhere near them. But, you know, RUTHLESS Esports, you know, if you want to be as good as Game Lord, you take their logo and then you run with that. And that's absolutely fine. I respect it. And RUTHLESS Esports, you know, they've been emulating a lot of the top European styles for a long time, and they've gone through many shifts of their own. Still one of my favorite teams, just purely because they have stuck it out this long as a group.
It is impressive, right? I mean, we see a lot of chopping and changing in this scene. So it's nice to have that steady hand coming through. The occasional change up, right? But it's still very much a call.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the best part about it as well is that this is a team that doesn't get the highest results in the lobby either. And oftentimes you'll see a team that gets first place, next season they're completely disbanded. You're like, what happened there? But for RUTHLESS Esports, you know, 10th, 4th, 12th, 2nd, it's all the same to them at the end of the day. They just want to improve, and they have improved a lot over time, but just under a lot of different names and a lot of different logos.
They do be improving. And after all, that is the aim of the game. Well, actually, I'll take that back. In this scenario, the aim is to win, but hopefully getting some improvement done along the way. NEXUS certainly not improving their position right now as necessary to go for the res. Octavian is out. Sarah low on this res. And another nade popping over the top. Is that going to reach? I think it might just have the range on it. That one certainly did. Another one popped over the top, and that is a good spray over onto Sarah. Octavian, however, still going. Oh, that's bad for business.
It's a fair bit of damage that comes Blackwhite's way. I think he wanted to get as many nades out as quickly as possible so that Octavian couldn't regain that last little bit of health that he was able to pump back into himself there with the first aid kit. So all respect to him. They've got a ton of nades here from boot camp, and they're just putting them to good use early in the game, trying to thwart a lot of members away from them. This is that northwest shift that I was talking about before. Fortunately, there are shots from up high from Team Doom. I spotted one of the players from PIONER.
PIONER just holding with 2 now in this boot camp position. I mean, they're picking up a lot of points here. 5 eliminations so far in the game. Gives them a healthy chunk to be getting on with. Although they will have to move north, as you say. Team Doom pushing in from that south side. NEXUS at their head makes it a little bit tricky. They will be looted and booted. 4 spots. One of the players from Team Doom running down the hill, but not really going to be able to paint that one red.
NEXUS move away immediately up towards that northern side, and finally MADBULLS move away from Paradise Resort. They want to get a little bit further into the zone itself, but there's not a lot of area to play around here. And the paddy fields up towards that northern side. Again, I said this earlier, they don't give you a huge amount of cover, but this is Na'Vi going up against Eastern Stars. They do lose Matic off the bat. Let's see what they can do here. Tixi instantly takes down NATUS.
Just getting that flush. 2 players from Eastern Stars now. They lost Bazzi early. Now it's just Kemi and Kapahala. Des was talking about how we've seen a lot from Kapahala so far this tournament, but holding off against 4 from Na'Vi on seemingly a little bit of a better day than it was yesterday for them might just be too much. Kemi first up to the plate, looks for the fight with Tixi, but will not be able to do so. It's better for Kapahala with the UMP. Kitsune moves into position. The sideswipe is there. Kapahala on the swivel. Finds Kitsune as well. Kapahala standing tall. Needs to go for the weapon swap, but it's just too much. 2 is good, but 3 and 4 make the tower fall.
You know, you feel like if he was able to get that second knock and not take so much damage, he might have been able to clutch it out there. It's just unreal capability coming through from Kapahala over recent days. This is the circle that I feared we'd be seeing right on top of the bridge. And Big, you know, it's a heads-up decision to not make their way across too early on. I think they knew that they could wait a little while, considering those paddy fields would be open. It's a general rotational path they take later on in the game, John. So it's nice that Big has remained. And this is a good lip to play around from just over the side of the mountain. Gives them great coverage. Now they'll be looking down towards Na'Vi, but Na'Vi's focus will be down towards the south as teams start to swim across from boot camp.
Yeah, Big haven't really made too much noise, but Na'Vi, obviously off the back of that fight, will have drawn a lot of attention. MADBULLS trying to get some attention of their own. The SHOCKWAVE trying to bug out by the looks of it. Smokes are there. There was an elimination going through. You can see in the elimination feed there, Tixi gets spotted. I think Big have got the oversight and does get flushed as well. So, bad news for Na'Vi, but they got those 4 eliminations early, and they'll be aware of Big's presence up at the top of the mountain now.
I mean, that was bold from Tixi. He sent it up towards Big's position. I think that they're sending him out as a scout to see if they could take up that ridge side. It's a fantastic spot to play around with. Hakoni, though, cannot quite get it. Effect is instant.
What a switch. Excellent stuff there from Effect. Doesn't even go down. You imagine that there's a refrag. But in the meantime, MUERTE have started to push up towards Big's position. Na'Vi is still going for this fight just a little bit. Meku did get knocked in the meantime. And now MUERTE looking to seemingly go for Na'Vi's compound. Mazzaro up the top. The only oversight right now, but no, hang on a minute. There's more all the way up the hill. And another player from MUERTE getting heavily damaged at the back. Did manage to hit the deck. Doesn't get taken down just yet, but it's really slowing this push onto Na'Vi's spot.
Yeah, I really do think that Na'Vi should have known that Big would be up here rather than sending Tixi up too early. One from MUERTE gets flushed. And because of this, they lose 1 player, and now it becomes harder for them to combat a lot of these teams coming from the south. I think that they should have just accepted the fact that when they didn't get the initial team wipe onto Big, this is always an inevitability if they head down this way. So now Big can hold this position, and I feel like Na'Vi really should have just been playing for this next circle and hoping, praying that Big gets pushed off from this ridge side.
Game Lord playing the troll position. Not because they're trolling, but because they are playing on the bridge. You will have to pay a heavy toll if you want to push past this French powerhouse team. TJB taking a fight of their own, seemingly very effectively against the 4 Romanian men. Bringing them down pretty low. MUERTE's push all but done for on that southwestern side. Nades between RUTHLESS Esports and MADBULLS. This is out in the blue, out on the east side. You can see that on the minimap in your top right. In the compound there, they will have to push further west. The circle shifts up towards Take Aim.
Actually, so amusing that Na'Vi gets ruined so hard in this compound after making such an insane rotation downwards to immediately deal with Take Aim Gaming. But in the meantime, they've kind of convinced Take Aim Gaming with that push to take the strongest position in the circle. Obviously, they didn't know the circle would head up here, but for Take Aim Gaming, they couldn't be happier that they lost a teammate down on the south side when they tried to cross onto the North Island early on.
I mean, it did, as you say, it put them in a very, very strong position. I liked the discipline sprays there coming through from Old Boy. Pops the Molotov in, sprays on the outside of the window so you can't jump out. And there's even more discipline coming through from RUTHLESS Esports eliminated in the meantime, but there is still more to come on that eliminations as NEXUS Gaming is down and out to the VIRTUS.PRO play.
Now Big's looking for that 3v3 versus Take Aim Gaming. Leaving Mazzaro behind there is smart. In the meantime, it's Game Lord. Takes down Kitsune. Now just 1 player in Matic remaining from Na'Vi.
Game Lord have moved across the bridge to the western side and will be holding there to try and control the ground, try and control those crosses from the east. That's VIRTUS.PRO on the east, Shockwave and MADBULLS. TJB, by the way, out on the blue. Looks like Lin may be going for the TJB special.
Oh, that's unfortunate. 2 knocks straight away for Big there. Mozero goes down to 1 player from Team Doom. And Mozero, so far out of the way. I liked what Big tried to do there. Went for the big wrap around the side of Take Aim Gaming. But now the circle moves further out eastwards onto their position. Hard shift to the north. Matic's down. And that's Na'Vi out. Players just falling like flies now, John.
TJB also got taken down in the midst of all of that. So we're now left with 7 teams. Effect out healing all the way on the eastern side. I imagine he has quite a few meds. There was a little bit of a scrap around that compound. So hopefully not too many of those meds got slurped on up. We'll see how long the MADBULLS representative can keep on going. PIONER as well, out on the eastern side, pretty close by. So potential for a little 1v1 over there.
Victor, honestly, this guy is just fantastic from Game Lord. Always was the big fragger from the team. Mind, though, spots out Beast. Now Big's in a bit of a rough scenario. Mozero has been able to crawl his way over, but it's just too little too late here. Not close enough to the team. It would be good to get him back up so they can have 3 players as opposed to 2. But Robs has found his way onto the coastal side now, John.
On that downswing. Big starting to push up. 2 versus 2 in this compound with MADBULLS out healing, and as you said, Robs on that coastline. Big and Take Aim Gaming, they know exactly where each other are right now.
Big gonna get pushed by the blue just a little bit. Robs, though, you can see him there just scouting out. And Big will have to move into open ground as opposed to Take Aim Gaming, who have 2 decent spots just hide out in. 2 of the teams still left alive, with just the one, Robs, who's in the fray and gets the circle too. An Effect who's just healing outside, trying to get as many points as possible, but unlikely with these positions that both Big, Take Aim Gaming, and Game Lord currently have, that Effect might make it to 3rd place now.
Robs should have the info of these 2 on the coastline. I don't know how many meds Effect has. Was still healing. It is zone 7. Still has more in the back pocket. Still don't know how many he has. There he goes, last one. And that'll be it. Effect will be going down, leaving 3 teams remaining.
Yeah, it's just with the cover that's available in this spot, as well as the snaking capability from Robs here on the coastal side, on these little cliff faces. Big, though, taking their time with this. Take Aim Gaming's very, very wary that a player's down here. He peeks up for just a second. I wonder if Take Aim Gaming saw that.
I don't know how many Take Aim Gaming know that Big had taken down, but they could think that there's all 3 up the top of the cliff. Up the top of the line. If they're caught unaware on a side swipe, Take Aim Gaming need to have their wits about them here. Absolutely imperative. Big want to drop these nades down. Nobody in this next circle, Blank.
I mean, here, though, they'll have the cover. Out goes the flashbang to try and ensure the knock. He does have 1 more, though, and I think he'll pop that one after, then try and go for the knocks. But Game Lord still, Robs is very aware that there's another team maybe looking for that 2nd place. I think as soon as Big starts taking shots, he'll get involved, because 2nd place, 10 points. That's good for him.
Well, he sees these players putting nades uphill, and nades answering them as well, so he's definitely aware of the numbers game here.
This could be a huge flashbang.
Knows he's at a disadvantage. Pulls the pin. Needs to get a big flashbang. There's one. Steps up for a second. And Robs absolutely ruining the day. But, ooh, just huge. That one through. Huge play from Robs. Moves forwards. Plays for the edge of the zone. And now Big know they only have 1 player to deal with. They're relieved that they don't have to deal with the 2. But Robs still a massive force to deal with here. Game Lord. The French squad with their 1 player spotted in the dirt. Needs to get the spray, but it's not good enough. Not quite. Big, take it home.
Still 9 eliminations there coming through for Game Lord. Big take 18 points away from that one, but GameLord surpassed everyone, and I think that's the first time that I've been truly impressed by a flashbang in PUBG Mobile. He sends the first one through, and at that point, you're kind of no longer worried about flashbang, because who carries two in the backpack there at the end game, but waits for both of them to be out in the open so he can throw the flashbang forward so it hits both of them in the eyes, and you can just see them flailing, panicking in that moment, steps up and gets the immediate double knock. It's so well done, and honestly, Rob's maybe one of the players that is very highly underrated on that team, but he is one of the most consistent players for them.
Absolutely. That was really, really solid stuff coming through. You love to see it. It's not often you see that sort of thing be executed at that sort of flawless level, right? Didn't even take a little bit of damage in the end there, which allowed him to have a chance against Big.
I think that's the major thing though, right, is that so many times in those situations where you're in that solo player scenario, a lot of these players just won't take the chance, they won't go for it. And in this moment, Robs absolutely does. And in the same vein, we're going to go for it right here and send it back over to the desk.
I don't want to talk about Robs, okay? I don't want to talk about this because Max and I were a little bit late on our predictions. We're like 19 minutes in. We see Tag have Hot 10. We see they have all the control in the world. They have the zone, and then Tag loses.
Don't even get me started. Wow, what? Really? You gotta bring this up. Why are you gonna?
You know the best thing about this is, Max?
What?
Is that actually I'm on 0 as well because I cheated yesterday and I put in a result like right at the very end. So I'll take it. Thank you so much, Matt.
Production, did you hear that?
No.
No way.
He admitted he cheated.
What's that, production? Oh, they can't go back and change it. Okay.
Oh,
Oh no, I'm -1 because I cheated.
let's go.
All right. Well, I mean, Big. We talked about them earlier today being disappointed with how they performed yesterday. Okay, we can get this off. I don't want to see this anymore. And how they didn't perform well. But to be honest, they got very lucky in many ways. We were talking while watching the game. Somehow they were able to rotate back towards Hot 10 without losing anyone.
I hate how Kalaris keeps getting away with this kind of stupid
He can't keep getting away with it.
He keeps getting away with it. If it wasn't for those meddling kids, look at that. I don't know what's the fact. Oh, okay. Well, good stuff still from GameLord. 21 points that game. But the fact that Big are able to do a 250 meter rotation without buildings, without any trees and rocks, and they had to cross a road into Hatin that was defended by Take Aim Gaming. How does that happen? Kalaris, what are you doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, like, where do I even begin with all of this? I mean, Tag should have held them out. Like, it should have been their victory, technically speaking. Of course, then they get rumbled by Rob towards the end. That's a problem. But, like, every dynamic that allows Big to transition, be it, like, Doom and Na'Vi fighting one another in that compound, GameLord looking out for themselves, going along the coast, Tag should have been the team to hold them and make sure that they can't make that cross. However, it doesn't occur, it doesn't happen. I didn't quite see how Big made the move over. Maybe there was an infinite amount of smokes. But, I mean, regardless of the fact, shouldn't have been allowed. Tag should have got the win. Big gets this by the skin of their teeth, I feel, regarding that transition alone. Never mind anything else.
I want to show something through my camera, but I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for it, of just how much of an easy-ish win. Maybe I shouldn't do this, so I'm not going to do it. James, you probably know what I'm thinking. I just took a screenshot of the zone they had over at Hot 10, and I'll show you it as well, just so you can maybe comment on it. But the most freest of wins, practically right here, as we were talking about. Like, they had the southeast side of Hot 10. Everyone had to cross roads to get to them. They had to cross water to get to them. That's one of those situations, and correct me if I'm wrong, where you need to not lose. You need to capitalize off of the zone blessing that you get, pick up a ton of eliminations, get that chicken dinner, and get a lot of points on that board.
Yeah, the buildings in the southeast side of Hatin, as we take a look at these final moments from the game once again, they're not multi-story buildings, so they don't provide you the best angle. Some of these kind of two-story buildings will in Hatin, but they're elsewhere in that compound as a whole. The ones on the corner, they're only kind of single-story buildings, so they're not the most amazing thing to use to hold out. Yeah. But where Big transition across is like nothing. There's not much at all. So,
Production, will you hate me if I do this?
Just do it.
Do it. You do it.
He's gonna hate you. They're gonna hate. Oh, you ruined it.
No.
Oh wait, here it goes. Here it goes. Ready?
Yeah.
The zone. Oh, because it's green.
It's green.
Green's weird. They had the zone, man. There was like nothing around them.
That's a pretty big deal.
I think that Take Aim Gaming were very one-dimensional in that play. I think they were only looking at the East, looking at the bridge teams. They were looking at VIRTUS.PRO, NEXUS, GameLord, and then just big wrapped around. But like normally the information should have been there, should have been present. So, I mean, still a good push from Big, right? They took a really good fight, but yeah, Take Aim, that was their one chance for a win, and unfortunately, they fluffed it.
Well, let's talk positives, though. GameLord, Rob's in particular there. I feel like we've seen GameLord last season do something so similar where, like, one player will survive and win the game for, I think it was Nervalo in one of them, thinking back to, like, I think it was a Sanhok, actually, where he clutches out. Robs doesn't clutch out the win, but he keeps them alive, gets them to second place, and gives them the most points overall in the lobby.
But most importantly, a flashbang play. Almost a flashbang win at the end.
You don't want to let that one go, Max.
No, but it's so cool. You always see the mollies, see the nades coming out, you see the smokes, but like the flashbang being used in an open area like that, like it's been buffed. A few months back has been buffed, and it actually is a little bit more viable, right? But seeing it used in a way like that is actually really impressive. So I'm pumped to see a smoke used like that. And it is GameLord. We expect some good plays from individuals like Robs. I think he has been put a little bit on the back burner in the last season. We were looking at like Victor, Narvalo, but Robs, in his own right, is an incredibly talented player also for the team. So seeing him pop off like that and get a second place is always good to see.
I mean, his trigger discipline alone, Kalaris, because we had multiple situations where we're looking at this of, he could take these shots, he could go for this play, and I was like, well, you know, maybe he can just rotate into the zone, but he was going to be one of the first ones to move, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, looking for the opportune moment, and I think you're almost luring Tag into a false sense of security when you're being this slow about your initial engagement with them. They're constantly thinking to themselves, okay, we just have to deal with Big. We know where they've come from. They've come through Hatin. This is our big problem that we're going to have to deal with. But no, pops up and then is able to take them out pretty succinctly. Very impressive stuff by him. And again, considering even the move that they made across the bridge, well, across the bridge or under the bridge, in a time where everybody else is in these other conflicts, etc., and things like that, it just gives good presence of mind overall by GameLord here in this game.
All right, let's take a look at the damage, though, in the last match across all the teams and see who were our big damage dealers. And you're going to see GameLord actually be in there. So, yeah, those are Sanhok numbers with 9 eliminations. But you look, at Pioneer, which is a team, again, we saw do some great things yesterday, still at 1,300 damage with the 6 eliminations. But TJB, we haven't touched on this, gentlemen, while we have a little bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
They changed their drop location.
I didn't think it was possible. Me and Kalaris were in doubt. Will they change the drop location away from Summit to avoid the MUERTE? And they actually did. It was the drop location from GameLord last season, if I'm not mistaken, which also were trying to pull off a heal-off strat, but they're not TJB, so they didn't do it on the same level. So yeah, I'm stoked to see that TJB are willing to make those changes, but as you already stated, Kalaris, right? The next game on Sanhok, MUERTE is not going to be in that game, so they can go back to the old drop if they want and play it. So there are options available for TJB on Sanhok.
It's a good question, Jason. We will see if they do. I think they may. But I mean, that is all speculation at this point. I think one thing that hurt them a little bit in this game was actually they had a pretty decent central circle position in this game, but I don't think many teams anticipated it going back over to the west side of these. I think people anticipated, even with that split circle that's got the rivers running straight down the middle, and I'm thinking to myself, oh no, this is going to be rough. I think a lot of teams still expected it to go to Main Island, but it didn't. So that caused a lot of problems for a lot of teams, and TJB was one of them.
Well, wasn't Big one of them towards the end as well, because they rotated early out of Hatin, expecting the zone to go towards the east side.
Yeah, you're asking a good question there, because I think ultimately Big's initial move, as you say, they were in Hatin, they moved south, and I think they were moving south because they thought also it was going to go to that main island. And I think their plan from there was, we've just heard Na'Vi have this fight, let's try and look for eliminations on this path to try and get some effectively salvage points from this game compared to trying to cross the river. But once that circle shifts northwest back up to Tag, then their adjustments on the fly have to come into effect. And that's PUBG Mobile and a team, man. You've got to be constantly making these adaptations off of all of this information at the drop of a hat. It can be difficult.
Yeah, it's actually great when you're looking at all of this Northwestern Island split, right? Because normally in the past you would have Big, the old Destiny also that were there, like Big were in that position, and Eastern Stars. The moment Na'Vi joined this lobby, two teams like North and South, they don't want to mess with Na'Vi in any way, shape or form. So a lot of respect due there, but Big still willing to take the fight if they can. So I think they were definitely interested, as you said, to look for a few eliminations here and there.
Okay, well, you guys can see we have 20 seconds left till we get into our second match of the day. It's going to be over on Erangel, so we're going to throw it back on over to John Allen and Blake.
Thank you very much, Jason. Yeah, we're going to be getting into Erangel, as he says. Very, very aptly. Just noticed that despite all of us wearing glasses, there's only me and Maxman wearing glasses on this show. It's you know, we need a little bit more going on. And we will be getting into this first game, even though Blank doesn't have his glasses on. You know, he's not making up those numbers.
Yep, I do not have my glasses on. I don't need them. I see into the future. I see through the circles, many circles. I feel like this is like the beginning of some kind of crazy wizard speech here, but it's not. I'm just going to be orchestrating the playing path. That's about it. Which will be from Primosk up towards Prison right now. As you can see here, very, very low playing path at the moment over Sosnovka. So over towards Severny shooting range. Yaz, George, a little bit more difficult to reach. I think Yasnaya, there is vehicles available to yourself, but if you're heading up towards Georgopol, who I imagine Na'Vi, TJB might be wanting to take, these are some more difficult rotations to make.
West Coast cars for the Georgopol teams. Maybe a little bit more conflict over in Novo. And early drops for actually not too many of our players. Military Island being sent out for by ARB. It's the first team to do so. No one else really joining them right now.
I love that way. And this is the first game of the day where we'll get QODEX back into the mix. So we have beloved Vito, Moneyken here to show us what's good here in Erangel. And this is where we get to see whether, honestly, it will be that run that's continued. I think the major thing that we have to run back to, you know, Max mentioned on the desk, is the fact that, you know, this team, at least, it's not the lowest of performers, even when they don't get those high chicken dinners. Oh dear me. They get the 2 chicken dinners, they get the 3rd place, and they get the 6th place. So they're getting up towards the top of those rankings every single game. Game Lord, though, with an additional match, by the way, not far behind them with 70 points total.
Yeah, that 9-point difference right now. But as you say, that game disadvantage for QODEX still leaving them out in front. A very good start. VIRTUS.PRO look for a good start to their game on Erangel. The buggies, the shocks are circling. Ulysses looking to try and potentially bring it on in, but more being accrued by VIRTUS.PRO. And there's the evacuation. Ruthless and VIRTUS.PRO agree to go their separate ways for now. Neither of them wanting to take this fight.
Yeah, you're always going to find this type of situation, at least at the beginning of the game, John, just purely because of that playing path. A lot of teams aren't able to drop specifically where they'd like to here on Erangel. With it being a larger map as well, this means you've got a little bit more way to go. Somehow, we still have Big in parachutes. They've done very, very well to get up towards their position. And it looks like they're going up towards Yasnaya right now. Obviously, without Game Lord playing this match, as their group is currently out, Yasnaya is open for Big to take up. And considering Big and Game Lord, they've been battling one another towards the top of the rankings throughout all the seasons, they'll be very aware of which drop spots are open for themselves.
They should be. I mean, it might prove to be tricky to go to a drop spot that they're not super familiar with. I think at the moment it looks like they're sending over the north side of Yasnaya, potentially going all the way up to Severny.
Could be.
On those Stalber Hills rotations. And with the circle as north as it is, probably not the worst idea.
Yeah, well, I think the Big is certainly comfortable with Severny as well. We know that they like to take that North Yaz rotate later on across the lakeside. And honestly, with this circle too, John, I don't know if you mentioned it there, it just makes the most sense because you're further up towards where this circle will be rotating over towards. Yeah, there's always a chance that we get a nasty shift down towards the south side, but even so, like, it's very unlikely you're going to keep seeing shifts down towards Shelter. Now the circle has shown its hand.
3 teams currently on the military island as well. I'm just looking at our map feed. The Na'Vi has taken up residence on the west side of that military island now. They must have dropped out and snuck over there a little bit later on. ARB in C block in that central part on the military base of Sosnovka. And then Novo being occupied by Unicorns of Love on the eastern side.
Yeah, you're taking a backup drop here, really. But it's very unlikely to see this amount of teams here in Sosnovka this early on. So a little bit difficult to play around with. especially with teams here. You got MUERTE as well as Take Aim Gaming, both on the west and eastern bridge, but it looks like Tag is much more concerned with the circle itself and will move away from here. Either way, you know, Na'Vi could set themselves up for a nasty little gatekeep on potentially a team like ARB. They've picked up a lot of the vehicles that are alongside the road, so they're ready to go when they need to. Eastern Stars, though, you can see here on your screen, down towards MUERTE Power, looting up. They'll be fine. Huge amounts of loot there, especially here as well for Unicorns of Love. You can see Crypto already with the M249 in hand, so he's ready to go. He's looted, he's booted, he's got the level 3 backpack, so he's certainly got a lot of gear stuffed away in there.
Chuffed to bits with it, so he should be. Everybody's looking pretty ready and raring to go at the moment. Teams close to each other don't really have anyone specifically. I mean, XTEAM pretty close to Octavian from Nexus. Over near Gatka, north of Quarry. Take Aim Gaming potentially looking to move straight past Ruthless as they make their way up towards Ruins. And actually, Nexus are there too, so potentially a little bit of conflict around that southwestern edge in a moment.
It is that western side of the map, which is very much filled up here, and for good reason too, because with the circle, Tag takes a little bit of a knock there, coming through from Nexus, but with the actual playing path, a lot of these teams wanted to drop out early, pick up vehicles on that western side, and it wasn't likely teams were going to make that big run across towards the east. Unfortunately, a lot of teams like TJB and Big, who did take that stall drop, actually succeeded with it.
Rolling up on Doran, not going the way that they thought it would do. 1, 2 falls again. Finally, Doran does go down, and all 3 players from Take Aim Gaming are still alive, if not down. But Toffees takes a lot of damage through the window. And there's even a little bit more to go, as Doran able to get so many eliminations for the team as the final one comes through from the backup.
All I'm going to say is these two teams to calm down. It's only the first 6 minutes. That was absolutely brutal. Doran, though, very, very good player. Likely he's been picked up by Nexus Gaming. They've got a really good Romanian squad ahead of them. You know, they've just been picking some very decent players. Doran, I think he was playing back on 4 Romanian boys. Extremely good scout for that team. And an exceptionally good fragger, as you see here on your screen, taking down 2 players and almost going for the little bit of the fake out there onto the final player in Toffees. So very, very well done to Doran, and picking up Octavian as well. I just expect a little bit more from Nexus. I'm just a little bit disappointed with the current results that they have. Again, though, they've come a long way from the Nexus we saw when they first formed. That team was a little bit, you know, unfortunate at times, wasn't able to find the points where they were looking for and often crumbled under the forces of an enemy team. But here, at least, they can do squad wipes. They can do team fights, and that's a great start, honestly.
Yeah, they have gathered a little bit of momentum. They're still in the top 16 right now, and we have had only 4 games played for each of these teams, although each phase is made up of 24 games. So it is a 1/6 of those games that you are going to play this phase, so trying to accrue those points towards the finals. And not only that, get that extra shot on Livik. So pretty important to see yourself nice and tidy up the tables if you can. But it is very, very close in those tables as well. It's a lot easier to jump up and fall down on the flip side if you have a good or a bad performance individual games, on an individual game basis.
I think it's 31 games that we have total, right? We've got the 5 over 6 days, 5 each day, and then we have the final game on Livik. We've got 31 games total.
Each team plays 4 games a day for 6
4 games a day, so we've got 24. That's right. And then 1 final game on Livik.
That's right.
So we're
so potentially 25, right?
Potentially 25, if you're in that top 12, which is the main thing, right? You want to get into that top 12 so you can brand. Well, really, it's most important for those top 3 teams at the end of the phase, getting into that Livik, because yes, you get limited points playing as the 12-man dropping into Livik, but you can accrue a lot of elimination points there. We've seen that before. Oh my God.
Wow.
Well, I've not seen that before too many times. I'll tell you that now. Heads right up towards Stalva, and I think TJV's got the right idea that, look, there's been hardships aplenty so far in phase 1, so let's head straight up to Stalva. Let's take Observatory, and let's just send shots down towards anyone that tries to challenge this position.
I mean, why not with the circle as it lands? Unicorns of Love, they've got a little bit more legwork to do right now. Rolkis bringing up the rear for the Unicorn squad. Getting across the way. Big, he spot a player from Pioneer. Black-White tries to send in past Swave and a head-on collision. Both players have to hop out and Swave's all the way up in the air. Goodness me. Talk about drop shot. Black-White seals the deal. He's looking for the flush. Unfortunately, does get knocked in the process. As Beast not quite able to save his teammate from the ever-encroaching ka-chunk of the DBS.
Big flies in, but Fash actually put a lot of damage through Beast. Very low here now. Mickey takes a bit of damage, so not being at 100% health is actually a bit of a disadvantage. Luckily for Mickey, he had a medkit in the back pocket. Gonna bring him back up to full. Beast still takes a bit of damage. Mickey with a nade as well. The shrapnel is flying here, and Pioneer slowly but surely causing problems.
Oh, what a spray. Beast goes down through the window. Havlik moves on in. Mazzaro not quite able to get the shots over the wall there. The scope leading him astray slightly. The barrel just that little bit lower. Nade potentially coming out of the top there. But there's plenty of utility. Miki not really in a super supportable position right now. Black-White is still resable if Miki goes down here.
Throwing in the smokes, making the push up to this compound a bit easier. And with a 3v2, you just want to get as close as possible. Isolate this fight with Mickey, which they do perfectly. And Beast is just not able to respond. Mazzaro, sorry.
And with that, they will be able to get the res. Stay as 4. Pioneer have a really solid chance taking down Mazzaro. Last player from Big, dethroned from Severny.
Yeah, really smart plays there coming through from the players of Pioneer. Honestly, the smokes are perfect. I think that Pioneer so far, it just appears to me as a smart team. Even the fights they take with Big over on Miramar as well. They lost it one time, but the second Miramar, they were on the ball with it. Shotgun up close, send some players to the side, isolate Big on the hillside. And again, this is just another case of sorting them out good and proper, even with the vehicle crash right at the beginning. I don't know. I feel like I could have gone either way there. Luckily, he's able to go robot wars on him and flip him over the top of his head.
Self-righting mechanism. Come on. You know, it's standard affair, really.
That's standard in your book.
You just need one, don't you? Come on. Come on. PNL needs a little bit of cover, but he's not going to find it. GK first finds him out in the open. Shots answered back from Vito, but that's handled as well. GK first taking 1 and 2 from our tournament leaders currently. Moneyken up towards Vito. One of the heavy hitters in this lobby. We saw what an impact he had. The frags, the eliminations, the damage coming through from this player. Pretty brutal. Moneyken with his own still to do. Lin gets the re-knock on the rundown and swings it in for another slow play on the QODEX push. Tingsker around the side. Can't win out that 1 versus 1. Moneyken putting bullets down range. Repositions. They don't go for these reses. They want to take the fight. GK first. Pushes up to the smoke. Moneyken swings out. Maybe looking to suppress this. Vito will know there's a player here. The flush potentially coming through. And GK first wastes no time. Now around the side. Moneyken wants to put a nade over. GK first is there, but the Eastern Stars are waiting in the wings. You cannot be waiting too long, however, as VIRTUS.PRO are right there. This is a crunch and a half. QODEX having a pretty awful game right now as they try and summit Stalbert and get rebuffed. 2 players from TJB survive, but everybody is now climbing blank.
Again, very difficult. Like you say, everyone's got the climbing gear out. Helmets are on. They're strapped in and begin the rappel. Honestly, it is very, very rough at this point in time, especially this position. There's a lot that can go down here. Unfortunately, QODEX were just trapped on the outside of the ruins. They tried to channel Lord and look for a little bit of shelter, but weren't able to quite find it. Unfortunately, TJB with their antics, they are pretty crazy when it comes to those team fights. Just took QODEX by surprise. Going down 14th place, it's not good for them. Again, now, difficult scenario ahead of them for a lot of these teams. Beautiful shots back up the way, though, from MUERTE.
Able to get the knock. Cheeky little shot there over towards Nexus. And with that, Dadaev, Striker, move on up. Striker with the UMP, close range. Sarah has Dadaev to handle, will be able to do so. A nice side swipe coming through from Sarah. will be pivotal in the coming moments to hold off this push. Redox yet to get the heal off and will get re-knocked before it does go through. Octavian falls down as well. Serra now the only player left standing for Nexus, but an aid over the top is going to take down one from DeMuerte, slowing them down. 2 players are there. Serra can't quite handle it, and it's 3 to stay alive for DeMuerte. TJB up the top, though, could have something to say. GK first wants to crest this ridge, but just takes the buggy and gets out of there.
There's just 2 players up there, and going up there very, very early on meant that they had to deal with any contenders that came to play fisticuffs. That's Unicorns of Love looking for some more damage over towards Eastern Stars.
Icy has the pump
S1.
Has one as well. Does get the knock, but that's all he's going to find. K-Mate will get the res onto Athis. It's early doors for the Unicorns of Love. Unfortunately for them, they only get the 1 point on the game.
Eastern Stars were having none of that. Rocked up to the compound and just obliterated the Unicorns of Love there. They still have to make their way up, and a lot of these teams are just looking to take fights. In the ruins right at the top, Tongjiabao still sitting on that northeastern edge. Shockwave similarly in a weird position, but now it moves back down the staging, and these teams will have to tumble down the stairs of Stalbert, find themselves in position. And again, this is where Pioneer is thriving. They have decided to play this game a little bit slow, back to those edge play style that we saw in a lot of their other games, and they should be able to hold out a few other teams here. But it's Na'Vi who's coming in very hot towards their position.
From that northern side, Na'Vi not really having too much to do so far. They've played positionally up to this point in the game, but you have to think that their time will start to come any moment now. Eastern Stars, 5 eliminations, Pioneer with 4, and all 4 left alive on both of those squads. Nice results for them so far. On the top of the hill, TJB with 2 players left. They held it fairly decently with all those teams starting to move on through. It did look a little bit shaky for a time against QODEX, but they will not have another chicken dinner run today to start things off.
And again, this is actually very, very good news for Game Lord, because essentially that game disadvantage that they were at is now just a moot point now. Death Machine, fortunately, takes shots from TJB, no less, who are right in the center, trying to send some teams away. And this is just with 2 players as well. It's Lin and GK first, some of the OGs from this team.
Ingush tries to roll up on Shockwave, but Nightmare puts him to sleep. And they will not be able to get any knocks in response as well. DeMuerte eliminated. The players do fall. 4 eliminations or 4 points on the game. And now we're on board with Ruthless Esports on the south side of the Stalba mountaintop.
Some bad dreams there for DeMuerte. Eastern Stars, though, flitting on the eastern side of the circle. Na'Vi always been very, very excellent at sweeping, much like Game Lord. Again, there's not much to sweep on this side. It's pretty clean. XTEAM roll up into a bad situation right behind Eastern Stars. Unfortunately, Eastern Stars, they know they need to continue onwards. Currently split. They move up to the loot crate. Just sit behind it for the time being.
A lot of loot crates dropped on the top of the Stalba Hill. I think TJB managed to get one of them earlier. Eastern Stars picking up whatever scraps are left there. And in comes XTEAM. Spray on towards Beg for Mercy. Nano Baby with a sideswipe angle, but stays up on the ridge too long. Nightmare not taken down. Beg for Mercy does get knocked in response. And around the side, Zombie wants to challenge. Salazar trying to slither his way through the smoke with those bullets. Doesn't get run down as well. Has to hit the deck. Andy taken low and taken down also. XTEAM suffering heavily as just Nightmare left standing. And that will be it. That will be curtains. Salazar doing work for the team.
You can't run down Salazar. This man is the vehicle overlord. Vehicles only respond to him. Waiting to see when we first get our Salazar run down, but there's no way you can hit this guy with the vehicles. He knows exactly what to do in those situations. Meku, though, looking out towards Shockwave, who've slowly tried to make their way in from the northern side, and Na'Vi have heard a couple of the shots, or at least the vehicles rocking up. They're moving into position. As soon as they get that first knock, now they're looking to finish the job.
Tixie low pops this first aid and needs to just straight up run as fast as possible to get out of this zone. Maybe able to trade it on over. Nice nade damage there for Nightmare, forcing this heal out. Shockwave not going to be able to guard Na'Vi really effectively on this northern side. This Nightmare just keeps popping those smokes over, slowing Na'Vi's approach, but that kind of suits them, actually, in this scenario.
does, yeah. I mean, they still play on the edge side, but Pioneer have actually sent 2 up to gatekeep on the backside of Na'Vi. Now they're crushed between 2 teams. Havlik, as well as the other player, both have M4s though, but it's a lot of damage that's pumped their way, and maybe this was not the best decision.
This is the Na'Vi that we know and love. They are just landing those shots. Hopefully they'll be able to continue this forwards. They're not even sending someone back to try and get this res on the teammate. They know that these zones will start to move and they don't really have too much time to get it done. So there is a reposition. It is starting to res and it will be a mad dash to outrun this blue. Fortunately, it's not too far and the blue zone going a little bit slowly for them.
Quick smokes from Kitsune there. Bring Matic back into the fray. I think it's Tixie who's also spotting a Mini 14. So that's some long-range action to throw into this, and you absolutely kind of do need that just a little bit. Especially the long-range sightlines you'll have to go for. It's not super open. There's still tree lines to play around with, so can go for some cheeky peeks with a Mini 14. So I really respect that from Na'Vi at the moment. We're bringing something a little bit different into this other than the DBS, which has found itself soaring on the rise at the moment in terms of popularity.
Well, it's kind of the same reasoning, right? It's what is going to be most useful in these late game circles. With the open ground around Na'Vi, as you're saying, it's great news for them to have that DMR suppressing fire.
100%, especially with the tree lines as well. There's a lot of positions that you can kind of take those flanking angles from. The DBS is just going to be completely useless to you.
Oh,
Kitsune has to drop back, but TJB again, still with 2, only 3 eliminations. 2 players from Pioneer try and make their way over towards Death Machine, but they are going to be finding themselves in hairy hands.
Ooh, that is not fun. That is not fun at all. You crash straight into all 4 of Death Machine. That is I guess a hairy handshake, Blank.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, dude. It's a beast that holds the Wizard Tower, and Eastern Stars want to fight the beast as well, apparently.
They are the Slayers so far, but only one of them remains. Eastern Stars trying to keep themselves all alive as well. The flush over onto Kame will bring them down to 3 guaranteed. They haven't quite managed to find him, not just yet, but finally the job is done. The Vorpal Blade goes snicker-snack, and the beast falls dead. With its head, they'll try and galump over to the circle as best they can, but Na'Vi want to push on in instead. And there's the burn on the ground floor. Kapahala down. What are the huge players so far in this tournament, and Na'Vi have all the angles they could ask for.
MK12, though, deadly close quarters with the speed at which he can rattle those shots off. And Na'Vi currently have to hold back, but Tixie knows he can't really go for the first aid kit just yet. He needs to continue suppressing the reses coming through from Eastern Stars whilst they get themselves back up to a full force. Good stuff from Na'Vi, though. Instantly hear the fighting and go for the quick third party. That's TJB going down with ARB rocking up on their spot. Still, I will give them a big thumbs up there, TJB. How far they got with the amount of players they had remaining and the fight they took at the beginning, very well done. Athis, though, still taking this fight to Eastern Stars. Meku even gets flushed.
Yeah, Eastern Stars, they kept all 3 alive of the players that weren't flushed out there. So Kame did go down earlier to the flush from Death Machine, but keeping all 3 alive, taking a player from Na'Vi on that northern side, it gives them a real solid fighting chance once they've healed up.
Na'Vi, though, they have been speedy. Moving from spot to spot, they even left that compound that currently Eastern Stars are trying to regroup in to find themselves back in the circle. Now looking over towards ARB, again, it's this high ground that becomes an issue. Ruthless Esports with 4 players still alive here. You got VIRTUS.PRO as well on the hillside, but Na'Vi, they're in bad spot position right now. A very bad situation for themselves.
Although Eastern Stars might be a little bit shakier here. Kapahala knocked and flushed out by VIRTUS.PRO. Eastern Stars with 2 in the center. 10 eliminations so far on the game for Eastern Stars, so good result no matter what. Keeping consistent, and that's what you expect from this team. It has been their lifeblood in the tournaments we've seen them in so far. Ruthless Esports, though, with 5 eliminations so far on the south side of the circle. Hamo could prove to be tricky. Nade in hand.
It's a knock there back onto Matic, but 1 onto ARB. Na'Vi is just suffering from utility. Suffering from success, really, with the amount of fights they've been taking. Fortunately for them, they just don't have the smokes to continue this push from their northern side down the hill.
Hamo spotted. A side swipe from Na'Vi as they continue their ascent, but it's only the one player remaining now. Just the one player, actually, for Na'Vi. It's the nade being cooked here for Kitsune around the side. ARB with only just the one as well. If this not gets found, it's another ladder up for Na'Vi. VIRTUS.PRO try to make themselves known on this ridgeline, but Ruthless Esports already knew all about it. VIRTUS.PRO taken down, lickety-split.
I mean, Ruthless Esports were below, sorry, VIRTUS.PRO, so I'm not sure why they went for that push in full vision of Ruthless Esports currently with 4, and it's good. I'm glad I talked about these guys at the beginning of the game and about improvement, because here they are looking for the chicken dinner. Just 2 players from Eastern Stars remaining and 1 from Na'Vi. Still a good result for Na'Vi, though. Getting a 3rd place is decent. See if they can make that a 2nd.
Athis should know there's a player this close. Salazar bobbing up and down. Kitsune will be looking to third party here. The high angle from Pokusui on the south side could be pivotal, but they have to reposition it. It's on the long side of the blue. They don't really have time. I feel like Ruthless know Kitsune is somewhere around here as well.
Ooh, Athis though starts this one strong, and Pocus has got absolutely no response to this one. One of the critical players from the last season. Nade comes through from Nano. Does go behind it, but just not enough damage there. And the nades are good from Bazzi.
Not quite getting a re-knock there. Ulysses is going to get up, but Salazar took a lot of damage. That will be a slowdown on the push from Ruthless Esports. And the nades coming down at them, really not as good, not on target, not just yet anyway. That one will be, though. Finally got their eye in as Athis leaves Bazzi stranded behind the crate, behind the buggy. That nade could be good as well, and it will finish off Eastern Stars. Now, Na'Vi, 1 versus 4. It's Kitsune.
First nade has to be good. It's Salazar in the vehicle. He commands them, and he will make it happen. Easy peasy, lickety split, and that'll be Ruthless Esports taking it home.
Huge game coming through from Ruthless Esports, and to be fair, Eastern Stars as well. They had a massive run on the top of that hill, but it is Ruthless Esports to be able to shut it on out. Really solid stuff coming through the south side of that circle. They just pushed it up, they cranked that vice, and they turned the screw on all the players up there.
Yeah, very, very difficult. I think for VIRTUS.PRO, though, it's just a strange decision to immediately send so far down in perfect purview of Ruthless Esports there. They just were so surprised themselves. But again, everyone just pulls out the M4s and starts sending some bullets down.
Yeah, it is what it is. When you're left with 4 players, you have those massive numbers advantage. Everybody knows where they've been pushing from. You know, they've been trying to get up those slopes. It's very, very hard to really do anything there. But Kitsune, top eliminations on the game with 4. Nano with 2 nade eliminations as well coming through. I think that was the 2 that we saw right at the end, finally managing to get those cooks right behind the tree, behind the crate.
Still, Eastern Stars, a great performance this game at least. You know, it wasn't the most amazing thing for them last game on Sanhok, but here on Erangel, where they can keep things a little bit more consistent, I think they hit some great shots and took some great team fights.
We're going to have another game coming at you really very quick, so don't go anywhere. But first, we've got to head over to the desk.
If you're wondering why Max is so happy or hungry or aggressive, I don't know what kind of face he's making here. That's why.
That's why. Oh, yeah. I was very scared for a big portion of that game when they were fighting versus ARB champions, actually. But yeah, Ruthless, what can I say? And also Salazar, the Salazar special was involved, so I'll take it. And Jason's still at -1, so that's another big win. I'll take it.
No, Max just keeps just saying everything that happened in the game, so Jason has nothing to talk about with this.
He's the host now, go ahead.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
I will say that once again, though, when we made those predictions, it's about the 15-16 minute mark, right? So kind of we were all in the right ballpark, but that terrain, Jason, is difficult to play towards those ends. You don't get many kind of edge of Stalber finishes, but Ruthless, I mean, they played it well at the end, man.
I mean, you were talking about, because you had ARB, they had really good cover, obviously, from the rocks or whatever you want to call it, the mountain. But then they got shot from the back, so it didn't really matter much in the end. Even with my team, VIRTUS.PRO, coming to save your team, Ruthless was too strong. But you know, you might not recognize him under the name of Ruthless Esports, but it is the UDR Killers team from before. And Salazar, as you said, Max, I mean, he's living up to his title. He is the roadkill master.
Yeah, I was saying get into the buggy way earlier, and he just didn't do it, but he did at the end. So I do appreciate it, Salazar, for the fans. Thank you so much. But yeah, there was some questions, though, when it came to Ruthless and their like mid-game rotation. I think phase 3 or phase 4, they were moving around the place. We're not too sure what move to go for, but the moment ARB champions left their position southwest, they took that spot, and because it was a little bit more high ground, they had the advantage versus ARB. So there were some questions earlier, but the timing was good at the end, and they got a really good spot. So yeah, and especially the nades from Nano did make it really easy to take that fight versus Eastern Stars.
You see Big here at the bottom, unfortunately. 0 points off the back of winning the match just before. But not only them, I mean, QODEX, a team that was first place at the start of the day, they unfortunately got 2 points. And I know you were watching this fight and you were surprised. I don't remember who it was that jumped out the window, but it didn't work.
I just feel like they're big on Erangel as a team that will religiously rely on Severny, right? Even though in a South Plane drop, they'll go there straight away. But the fact that they're not able to defend Severny, despite that being their absolute stalwart home, that's a little bit of a disappointment for me. I think Big can do better in those situations. They might have just been a bit caught off guard.
I mean, we saw Severny hurt them a lot in the previous season, right? Where they would have some
rotations,
bad circles, and it would take a long time to rotate. They would get gate kept. I would like to see, if not them change their drop location, at least have a secondary option. This plane path was not favorable for Severny. I would like to see a secondary drop location they can play, but yeah, the high ground position, Ruthless on point, and then Salazar. Hopefully we'll see it. It's in the clip. Is it in the clip? It's in the clip.
It's a good point, actually, because didn't Audi... there it is.
Way to end it.
Audi announced that they were joining F1 in 2026. Right? I guess they're going to get Salazar in for the driver.
I mean, I don't know if they want to be running people over on the track during the race. A little bit of a different skill set there, Kalar.
True. Different game. Sorry.
Let's actually look at Ruthless's player stats here and see who is standing out for the team here. I want to see when it comes to eliminations and, of course, damage done. And the thing is, like Ulysses, Nano, and Pocus, they were together with Sebi for such a long time, but then they brought in Salazar, and it seemed to have elevated the team to another level. They've had a great performance when it came to last season, and they're starting to do it here in this season.
Yeah, I mean, Salazar ex-player from Rexpect, and he really stood out of the team when he was still playing with Rexpect, so I think it came in as an obvious pickup, very similar to like Keme getting picked up by Eastern Stars. It's good to see individual prowess being rewarded by being picked up by these, I would almost say, legacy teams when it comes to the Western European region. And they have now, throughout the previous season and this season, now the start of this season, been building up that synergy, and I think that this is a team that is way stronger than we saw in the previous season. So I'm really hyped to see what this roster with even better synergy is going to be able to bring to the table here.
And if you want to, emulate excellence here in Western Europe, just copy Gamelord's logo. And I think you'll be sitting pretty, I think, here for Ruthless. We've got so many teams, man.
We have 2 teams that have a really similar logo to Gamelord. Is it? Well, yeah, 2 teams that are close, so 3 teams in total.
Yeah. I'll be 2.
Yeah. But we'll see how it works out. I mean, Gamelord's working out pretty decent. Ruthless working out pretty decent. Airbridge champions, not yet so far, but they'd obviously get further in that match. But let's maybe hop into Eastern Stars player stats. I know we brought it up yesterday, but I want to see it again. This team has so many strong individual players, but I want to see who's going to be leading the charge this time, and it will be Athos, actually. So yesterday it was Kapahala in general, but we know Athos can lead. We know Keme can do it as well. Bazzi on top of that. Yeah. I'm really happy to see this, but what I am sad about is there's no more Octavian within Eastern Stars.
Yeah, that's something that I think will be interesting to watch as they, kind of slowly develop things here with this roster. I think, again, we've said it actually multiple times already in 2 days. Keme is a great addition to it. I liked the rock up on Death Machine here for this game, all things considered. I think they'd watched as Death Machine had quite easily dismantled a position, but then they came along and did all right for themselves without all that going down. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them throughout the next days.
I mean, you're talking about also Octavian leaving the team, right? He joined Nexus Gaming, so it's Octavian, Dorian, Redox, Sarah. That's a very big roster change. Minimal changes happening for Eastern Stars, and having Keme join the team is you got to get one team adapt to the team and your roster. I think for Octavian is actually going to be a lot tougher of a transition for him in particular, because this had a lot of changes on this side. So yeah, I mean, it might be a slow start for Nexus so far. It hasn't been the start they were expecting, but Eastern Stars so far, having Keme on the team has worked great, and they're going to keep it up, I think.
I mean, Nexus have been around I'd say almost as long, if not the same amount of time here as Eastern Stars, but they haven't been able to rise to through the ranks like Eastern Stars have. But maybe having Octavian on the team, the fact that he's been up there on the top, he knows, what they can do, can bring some extra experience towards the team. But either way, we got 2 minutes and 20 seconds till we head into Miramar here. And gentlemen, we talked about Miramar yesterday. Which team was it actually? I can't remember. Was it QODEX we're talking about the start, Kalaris, of being such a strong Miramar team?
No, it was Death Machine, because they had themselves a compound in the first Miramar from yesterday, and then they were able to get the win on the second Miramar. Again, the only not getting the win in the first game was kind of mostly down to the fact that they didn't have much utility, being constantly in that compound and really not being able to get themselves some loot boxes off the back of their eliminations that they got. So let's see if we, have them push on forwards here. Look at them numbers coming in from the Miramar.
You wish you had Death Machine's numbers. 8 eliminations, average. We played, remember, Miramar twice yesterday, and an average of 1,400 damage. That's honestly pretty insane.
Yeah, a really strong average, and if they can keep it up right, that's the big question do we have for all of the teams that had a good day yesterday, QODEX and also Death Machine. If they can have a good day today again, it's going to be building up that consistency, and we're going to be stoked to see if they can remain up there. I was going to say Unicorns of Love in the past were a really good Miramar team, but actually that's when they were like Panda, so or slash TJB now, so yeah, not really a team that has that backtrack, but still, we expect Unicorns of Love to be back up there, and now making it over on Miramar, they can potentially get a sneaky win here.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head over to Miramar now as we bring in our commentators to cover all the action with John Allen and Blake.
Hey, wait a minute, that's us. We should do that, right? We should cover Miramar. How are you feeling about it? Ah, there we go. The stream could hear me, don't worry. How are you feeling about Miramar was the question.
Oh, I'm feeling absolutely fantastic about Miramar. I'm really, really excited to get into this one. Eastern Stars, I think, they've been putting some good performances on Miramar, and that's to be expected considering, most seasons before this, that's where we always saw Eastern Stars be doing well. They play really well in the open grounds, in the little ditches, in the little bunkers, over the lips. They're able to find some great nade tosses. I think that's where Eastern Stars are able to shine. Now, Death Machine do have the most points so far on this map. However, I don't think they deserve the most points on Miramar right now. I think that personally, just with the positionings they were able to take yesterday in compounds where the circle kind of went over to them, and even where they had the compound for so long in that first match of the day on Miramar, they still weren't able to clutch out that chicken dinner. It was only when we got to the second Miramar where it was just open ground everywhere around them other than their singular compound where they were able to take that chicken dinner home. Now, I would love to be proved wrong in this Miramar, honestly. Unfortunately for us, I don't know if that circle's going to head over to them, but we will find out maybe 20-minute mark. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Game Lord in, though, looking to extend a lead over QODEX, and we'll see what QODEX can do this map, considering, some of their Miramars were kind of good. They got a 3rd place yesterday, and we'll see what they can do here.
It is sort of early doors to talk about, teams being better on certain maps in this tournament as well, right? Because you've got very, very small sample sizes where circles really, really do impact it. As you say, those circles giving people compounds that were a lot stronger than maybe, deserved isn't quite the right word, but you understand what I'm getting at in these scenarios. Plains about a third of the way through its progress. Looks like VIRTUS.PRO will be first out on the south side towards Valle de Mar, Minas de Valle and Chumacero. Seems we've got about 3 teams heading down that way.
A couple of teams headed down towards Chumacero. Big, this time able to maybe take up Chumacero for themselves. I don't see Pioneer actually dropping down towards the positions. They won't have to fight out this one once again. It has been going back and forth here. Game Lord up towards Hacienda. El Patron just on the western side, perhaps rotating down towards San Martin. Well, this playing path and this circle, things are going to get dicey once again. So we're seeing similar stuff to our Erangel, just gone. And I would be very happy with a La Bandita finish. XTEAM, TJP, going at it right at the beginning.
Fighting it out for the gold and Morado, or the Dorado as we like to call it. TJB, XTEAM with a lead given to TJB early after having taken down Beg for Mercy. Andy, VSS around the side. You just don't have the firepower for that. Lin finds the flush, and it is good news for TJB as Nightmare sends for the hills.
Tries to get out of the way here. It has not gone well whatsoever, and TJB finished this one off cleanly. Lin taking down Nightmare as well, and that's 4 eliminations at the 2-minute mark, John.
That's pretty big. It was close to the plane path. They would have been down early. The good news for Game Lord, who are out on the west, was that they'll know that this was an engagement that happened, right? They'll know that there was fighting over Hacienda. You should have seen those shoots anyway, but it is good news that you see 4 players dropping almost immediately on those fights as well. And you're going to know that there's only going to be 1 team over there. So they can be a little bit less worried while still being wary of that location.
Yeah, this is decent for TJB. It gives them a lot of room to play around with, right? Especially down towards the valley funnel, towards Graveyard, heading down towards La Bandita. They can pick up the vehicle, specifically, John, as you said, the Golden Mirado. That's going to take them all the way through to Dorado and see if they can get some gold, some loot, some chicken dinners in the back pocket towards the end here. But it is Death Machine and ARB. This is very stale. Stale engagement.
Nobody's making the move. It's a little bit of a deadlock scenario right now. But someone's got to find the pawn break on the chessboard. In Picardo. Slam those knights forwards. Get those outposts going, you know. Standard affair.
Wadea finds a nade, though. Seems that's what he was looking for. Hamodi, this is dangerous, bro. You're just going to take that. Okay. He did not react whatsoever to that nade bouncing behind him. And to be honest with you, there's nothing you could do. Exactly, right? If I was in that situation as well, it's a case of, oh dear, I am now ruined.
I didn't want to play this game anyway. So, yeah, joke's on you. I didn't want to play. Unfortunately, 2 of the Death Machine will not be playing for the foreseeable future, not until next map. And 2 points accrued for ARB.
Decent stuff. And Death Machine, like you say, we're only just 2 players now. That sample size looks a little bit smaller.
Ooh, no.
It's a little bit small, that sample size. Not too shabby, but yeah, so Death Machine will be getting a lot of points this match. I can guarantee you that.
It's not about the size of the sample, it's about how you use it. Just like the UMP. As Nasa does go down through the window, Hamodi pushes on in, and it's looking smaller and smaller by the second.
Yeah, are happy over here. M249 looking out towards ARB, but unlikely anything's going to happen there. NASA gets punched out. Lights out. Now we're looking down towards this circle. Los Leones, Impala, Puerto Paraíso, La Bandita, places to swing past. TJB not making a move as of yet. And honestly, I feel like there's a lot of nice compounds towards the center here that you could take up, just to give yourself a little bit of semblance of protection. Again, though, having that scouting capability on the edge is not a bad idea either, especially when you know so many teams are going to be coming down from that western side, from Monte Nuevo, down the main road into Los Leones. Are happy is sticking around. A little bit unsure about this one.
Maybe looking for a cheeky pick on 1. Get a point or 2. I'll have to wait and see. Big gets rocked up on Doom, and Mihi out the vehicle and immediately down the scope. Rattles the player holding. Very good stuff. Big staying up at 4.
It's big though, it's just happy days, right? No Pioneer, no one else here. Things can be very chilled out. They can loot up, start to make a rotate early on. I think that's the main thing, is the early rotate, John, right? So you don't have to mess around in Chumacera for too long, especially if you know the circle isn't really heading your way. So they head down towards the south side of Los Leones, pick up some more loot here, perhaps even think about gatekeeping the main road, Los Leones, I talked about before, where most of these teams will be pushing through into the circle.
Frosty repositions. Team Doom obviously losing that player early, losing 0. Not ideal, and they will have to move a little bit further east. No one's pushed into Los Leones right now, Blank. No one wants to commit there. And it's something we talk about time and time again. Committing to a city this early is not a good idea unless it is the only option you really have at this stage. And quite frankly, the options are pretty bountiful at the moment for players to hold in locations around Los Leones, right? And control those rotational paths instead.
Especially on the north side, right? I think with the north side, it's not a bad idea to head up here. There's a few compounds, a few ridges that you can play around, get some information, potentially gatekeep some of the teams coming in. I think that the majority of the game here for this particular Miramar is just going to be gatekeeping, because I said it before, but there is a nasty funnel coming through from Monte Nuevo down towards Picado. Similarly, if you're heading down from the south from Hacienda del Patron, there's another nasty funnel there. A lot of these teams will be using La Bandita to their absolute advantage, just considering the landmass and the size of those walls there give you some opportunity to rotate past in some semblance of cover without other teams seeing you rotate through. So I think that's a good idea to take advantage of now whilst the circle is still large and hasn't cut any of it out yet. Tag moving down from El Azahar towards Impala. And it looks like TJB have taken up residence over towards the northeastern side of La Bandita, looking out towards basically just dead open ground. I don't mind this play whatsoever, especially if they're spotting out vehicles coming down from Minas Generalis.
Modi down on the outside. Looks like Arapi did get a little bit of retribution for the rest of Death Machine. Hamo pushes forwards. UMP will come up against the M249. Some nice damage over towards Woodir. Happy still has a nade. Is going to pull the pin on that one. No windows to put that through. And there's the off angle. They were just waiting for that. Immediately, as soon as he peeks around the side of the building, Jamazid.
Yeah. I'm going in. Oh, I'm gone. Jamazid's like, I was waiting for the exact position you take. I knew what was happening. He was logged in to the matrix. He had all the critical information. He was good to go. La Bandita still in this circle, but we head further off towards our eastern side. So unfortunately, we don't have Eastern Stars here with us. Just considering the circle itself, they would have loved this over towards Impala, even just playing to the west side of Impala with teams in this location. We are having VIRTUS.PRO heading up from the south side. Really not made a huge splash so far, John, at the moment. Was expecting a little bit more from VIRTUS.PRO. Obviously, with Old Boy, the veteran on that team, maybe being able to give a little bit of advice to some of these players. Again, I think Kalaris was talking about this earlier, perhaps not on broadcast, but we were talking about the rotating lobbies. It's a little bit more hard for these teams to, get used to it. It might be that this first weekend of Phase 1 might just be a slightly difficult for these teams coming into the mix, but once they get used to it, they get to do a little bit of homework, a little bit of downtime in between this and the next weekend of Phase 1. They'll get the hang of it. If they don't, though, they could come up really short, because you need to start pumping up those points coming into the finals nice and early so you can get that advantage. And just getting into the top 12 is already advantageous for you.
More Romanian men right in the hillsides. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. A little bit of a bobble there, but, you're getting it done. This is on the south side of Los Leones. It looked like they were holding on one of the peaks, but they will have to skirt around it. TJB force Ruthless Esports to have to go on a little bit of a skirt mission themselves, but Nano going down early to Lin. There's no way you get that res back up. That's a lot of damage, and the tick will come through. Ulysses and Salazar divert their attention, divert their path, and will head on out. As that leaves Ruthless Esports on 3.
You can see that though on the right side of the screen. It's an interesting position that TJB take up, and they're always trying to push the boundaries of what can be performed, what can be done in PUBG Mobile. Taking this 2-2 split though in basically open fields, it doesn't seem like the best idea to me, and I would actually have to probably speak to their coach about this to figure out what they're doing. Yes, you have a broadside on the road, but if you get caught out here, it becomes a little bit more difficult for yourself, especially with this being, it's basically unplayable area on the map. So slightly strange. I would hope that they would come together soon, but every time I've said that, throughout the history of TJB, they have never regrouped, and I just have to watch them play this dangerous game and sometimes get a chicken dinner.
Maybe one day you'll get your wish, Blank, but you know what? Today is not that day. MUERTE Still getting a little bit of a scrap for themselves. Team Doom, 4 Romanian men close by. This is on the south side of the circle. Near one of those airdrops. A little bit of replay there on Striker, just getting sprayed down as a sitter. Ingush to trade over onto Modi.
Jamar's even going down as well, so now just Perks from Team Doom. It's over down towards that south side, currently having a scuffle with 4 Romanian men. But it is, at the moment, MUERTE just holding out ARB. Considering their good start, they just did not move away from Picardo whatsoever. Spent ages looking for our Harpy. And I think they probably could have left a lot earlier. Now let's see Hamo out in the open. Does just get flushed, and that is ARB out with only 5 eliminations. The logo does not come in clutch. And ouch, that is a nasty circle. Down towards the southeast there again. Phase 1 has not been kind to any of these teams.
Really hasn't. It's a pretty tricky spot to try and get yourselves on up into. 3 players alive for 4 Romanian men. Killer. It's this res. Can they stick it? I think they managed to tag that on there. Nade's not really in range right now for Team Doom, so potential for 4 Romanian men to get all 4 back live and kicking. Looking at the players... Oh, hang on a minute. No, Killer went down. Vehicle went up in smoke. That is unfortunate. TJB, Na'Vi coming into conflict. Skirt easily handles Matic, and the rest of Na'Vi not really wanting to do too much.
John! John!
What's happened?
John!
What?
TJB! They've regrouped!
No. There's still someone outside. There's still someone outside. There's still someone outside. Don't worry.
Still 3 together. I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll take that.
It's okay.
It's almost a full regroup. It's almost a full regroup. I'm okay with that. They're getting back. No, please don't split. Please don't split. Stop it.
They're like,
no, stop this. Why?
They've really baited you there, mate. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
They've had you.
He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back.
Yeah, but the other one's already gone. On the menu for lunch, TJB have blank, seemingly, because they've absolutely had it.
Oh, okay.
Answer.
Yeah, that was lovely. Hole in one for him.
Now they need the par putt over onto the last player from 4 Romanian men. I'm not quite finding the angle. Don't potentially know exactly where the player is, but Phantom certainly has an inkling. Lowy. Seemingly similarly so. Frosty rolls on up to the back door. Phantom nades in through the front. Trying to play coordinated. Molotov on the stairs will slow things down, but they'll know he's upstairs now.
Nade thrown up. Doesn't find too much though, but the rest are coming in. Just Alawi left alive. They'll push this as a unit. Unlikely he'll be able to keep this one going. Still more nades going through. They want us to do a little bit of damage to him. None found though. And Alawi boosted up, looking for some more in the corner. He's just dodging these.
Just sending them back. Return to sender. Alawi around the side, needs a good spray, finds one, but he's immediately... Oh, didn't even find one. 0 damage found, but 0 did already fall earlier in the game. So they are down to 3 still, but yeah, not really too much you can do there. The nades, sure, not finding the mark, but the bullets certainly will. Gamelord on the northwestern side, close to MUERTE, and Gamelord are playing in the same game as QODEX for the first time today. 2 of their players down on that northwestern side. Not ideal for their run to the top.
Yeah, but looks like they are succeeding in this engagement versus MUERTE. Tadev looking to move at the top in the boogie, directly towards Robs and sails over the top of him.
Looking for the rest of them as well. Managed to get a little bit of cover on the 180.
Oh, what happened?
Quite find the knock there. Oh, Rob stays alive. And now the reses need to start to come through. Narvalo, back on your feet. Get back in the game, because QODEX will not go too easily.
Team Doom zoom towards the center, but it is Tong Jiabao who's taken up residence. Quick look, 3 of them are down though, with just 1 in Lin, who's split. Please. Get back over to the rest of the team. I think they got a few knocks their way, so I think Lin might just be able to get 1 back up and then fix the scenario. Team Doom with 1 down on their position.
We get a little bit of a replay for the earlier part of the fight. Gamelord versus MUERTE. Pros are doing a lot of work. I mean, it's such a brutal weapon, especially in those close ranges, Blank.
Oh, okay. So Max is going for MADBULLS, who are right on that south side. Not a bad idea, actually, in VIRTUS.PRO. So two teams that really haven't taken too many engagements. Didn't quite catch Jason's.
TJB. I just want to make that very, very known as Lin gets knocked.
Yeah.
TJB was Jason's prediction. Game Lord.
Not the one I'd go for.
Coming up against their rivals for the top of the tables at the moment, QODEX, and actually not having the best of times right now. Game Lord with that knock on the forefront, but it is traded. Now Valo looking to suppress MONEYKEN on position, but potentially thinking about going in for the full send. The res can come through. Vito pulling one of their players back on up. As TJB do fall out, Jason, eat your heart out. Unfortunately, not going to be going any further. As the battle for the top of the table rages on the hillsides.
Rob's moving through, but Biggs on the hillside. Just has to find a little bit of cover. Find your way into a little bit of the rock face. Become the nose, become the eye. Gotta really sell the illusion here because Big have eyes on, and they've both pulled the pins.
It's downhill. Victor doesn't want to eat too many of them, and they need to stick these heels. Game Lord trying to maneuver their way around as fast as possible. Ruthless eliminated. Game Lord still with 3. Now Valo looking to regroup. Victor has that Groza now. Looted on up, but if you go down, it's not going to be very useful at all. Vito sees to it that that will not be able to be used further. So now Valo tries to send a little bit further. Vito repositions and allows this res to potentially come through for Game Lord.
Vito so far, really that just clutch maestro on the team.
There it is.
All players though still up on that north side. Really difficult zone to play. If you look directly ahead of MONEYKEN right now, you can see just how rough the terrain is. There's some high ground to play around with, but it looks like now Big's coming in to just sort out the remaining players from Game Lord. Mickey does get knocked on his push through, and that's from QODEX off in the distance. But now they're in the sightlines of QODEX, where Vito is able to find a couple of knocks over towards Game Lord to really secure that for the guys from Big as they came down. QODEX starts to move forward.
Game Lord currently with 4 eliminations, QODEX with 1. Game Lord with 1 player still alive. Now Valo, you can see the brown splodge in the middle of the minimap at the top right-hand side of your screen, right in the middle of the circle. So Valo can stay alive for a little bit longer. QODEX, though, with 4, have a better shot at the chicken dinner overall. The question is, can they capitalize and hold on to this top spot?
This is the important part. And again, Narvalo, though, the Dice have talked about him. We've talked about him loads, John. But he's one hell of a player, even all on his lonesome. So he can get done. He's right in the middle of the field, so there is opportunity for him to just stay silent. It looks like he is just taking shots at lots of different teams, trying to cause engagements. Tag, though, versus QODEX. Nice Molotov from MONEYKEN.
This is disciplined. This is good. Utility used very effectively. Vito doesn't take any damage, but there's third parties coming in across the way on this push. Vito needs to try and shut this one down fast and won't be able to do so. A second drop shot's there, but Unicorns of Love put a stopper in it. Now they can start to roll up, try and push on in. PNL, the last player alive for QODEX. If he makes it to the compound, it's Rezable with 3. But can he make that push? No. QODEX down, and Game Lord outlasts them.
A horrible, horrible zone to play here. You can kind of see why TJB had such a rough spot over towards Team Doom's position here. You take the compound, but so many teams on the edge are going to be looking your way. Now it's Maxman, as well as Kalaris' pick, on the same line here. Both deciding to go similar ways, considering they'll have high ground. If the circle does come down towards the south side, again, either way, it's still a good position to play here. Really, the only way you do play this position is with 4, though. It's going to be hard to play this with any less. Old Boy does take some shots up, and MADBULLS already losing a player.
VIRTUS.PRO do need to make this push. They are the ones on the back foot. Effect uses that forwards position very effectively, but there's a player from up on high. Does get traded off very nicely. And 2 players now down for the VIRTUS.PRO push. The reses come through on the top, and now the reposition comes through. They move back down, dealing with this threat coming on in. Nades start to fly. Whoa! It's all MADBULLS finding these knocks. Old boy last standing for VIRTUS.PRO. MADBULLS needing to keep all 4 alive to play this position. As you said, an old boy down and out. It's VIRTUS.PRO to fall, and MADBULLS stay alive.
That's a gorgeous nade coming through from Monkey. Slips it right over the top and explodes in the face of VIRTUS.PRO. And I think that for VIRTUS.PRO, they had the right idea, but they were just too slow on the rock up. Yes, they get the initial engagement, and the idea there is specifically you can see with the way that they rock up onto those positions. If you look at Mir in particular, he rocks up, trades off immediately, and that's what they wanted to do with the 4-man advantage. Unfortunately, MADBULLS are able to restabilize almost instantaneously. They can move now over this hillside, over this ridge, towards the loot crate that's on the south side, and start to pick off players. This is moving slowly but surely away from Team Doom's position. But you are right, John. Narvalo, still being alive here, gives more opportunity for GameLord to start laddering up. And they already have 4 limbs too.
Exactly. And I mean, they guaranteed, at this point, 5th place, which they're going to get double-digit points on this game, right? It's a good result. It's a solid result for GameLord already. If they can outlast Team Doom or MADBULLS, maybe even Big, could be gravy.
He's surprisingly safe there as well.
Yeah.
Because anyone who tries to make the push in vehicles over towards his compound is going to get shot by absolutely everyone. There's not a single team that doesn't occupy all the sides of this quadrant in this circle. You've got east, west, north, south, all picked up. So no one could really make the run over towards Narvalo's position. Unicorns of Love are going to try edge their way over with the 4-man they currently hold. But this is incredible. 3-4 player teams in this circle that is so disgustingly rough. This is a rare thing to see, John.
Over on the hillside, Narvalo, you can see him. Just been hiding in that building for so long. Unicorns of Love, the closest team to potentially push into this position. And as soon as you remove one of these teams from the mix, it does change completely in terms of stopping those players going through. A nice little off angle found by Crypto over towards the vehicle, which is going to go up sooner or later. And more damage pouring on in. Unicorns of Love now make their way across the field with Big suppressed. This is the time that they can push up to Narvalo's position.
Potentially, but again, you see this. Team Doom's got eyes on over towards Unicorns of Love. There's shots sent back. MADBULLS, some nades of their own over towards Big's position. They're looking to pick up as many points as possible. MADBULLS, yes, this might be a big game for them, but with only 4 limbs, they need to find some more to really punch their rankings upwards.
SHOCKWAVE manages to get Mazzaro back on up. Narvalo pops a nade over towards Unicorns of Love. Okay. I think that might have been a flush.
It is, yeah. They're down to 3 now. And the circle's on him again, but he's right on the edge. Oh, dear. It's time for a Narvalo play, if ever you needed one, GameLord.
Still, Unicorns are so worried about Team Doom and Big that they can't really focus on isolating this solo player. Now Big on 2 players. They've lost 2 of them on that south side. MADBULLS doing a lot of work against some fairly strong teams on that side. VIRTUS.PRO and now Big under their purview.
Even as a solo here, John, Narvalo has a lot of control over the guys from Unicorns of Love, and it depends how much utility they've got left. They will have to burn all of these smokes just to get close to the actual compound. They do have a vehicle as well, but again, it's that oversight from Big that's going to come into play. It just depends how worried they are about MADBULLS currently.
That's
beautiful.
Narvalo finds one, an opener, and Unicorns of Love, they need to keep as many players alive as possible. Crypto is there in the vehicle, has to hop out, wants to cook a nade. No, he knows there's a player around, sees him hop out, has to be on the swivel, and Narvalo stays alive.
Are you kidding me?
Unicorns of Love taken down, and GameLord hold the center, bringing them up to 7 eliminations, 4th place guaranteed. Team Doom are getting swept aside by the MADBULLS in the meantime, and it's all the way up to 3rd for GameLord. If Frosty goes down, that is, he's trying to heal on out around the side in the smoke. They know he's there. It's only a matter of time. Frosty does get the heal. Swings out wide. Swings out. Back into the smoke. Frosty, with those sightlights, trying to control. Effect has to reload. Has to swap on out. Will not be able to do it. And it's 3rd place guaranteed for GameLord with a solo.
MADBULLS, though, they've been playing this game very, very well. SHOCKWAVE knows the position of Narvalo, peeks out for just a little bit, does actually find one onto Mazzaro. Nice nade, though. It's going to be bad if he lives. How? How has he lived?
And it's down! SHOCKWAVE got taken out by the MADBULLS, and now Narvalo can start to heal. In comes the crash. The MADBULLS want to take this one here and now. With around the sides, needs the spray, but the nades are good. MADBULLS finally the ones to put a stop to Narvalo's reign of terror with the nades across the open fields of Miramar. And they take the chicken dinner, but what a game to play for Narvalo.
Just dropped a Guardian's blessing upon himself in those last moments, able to live out through the nade, which should have absolutely eliminated anyone else in that lobby. I'm just falling over all of my words because I just cannot believe what Narvalo was able to do in those final moments. You know what really got me, John? Is when he started stepping out of the crate. I was like, what are you doing? Where is this confidence coming from?
I mean, second place, what was it, like 8 eliminations as well?
Yeah.
Playing from a solo for so long, that was absolutely incredible. And look at that. I mean, that's the triple.
Yeah, I mean, he played it perfectly up towards the end there, John. Even the nade play, he had to hit at least one nade onto Unicorns of Love so he could so he could delay the push from them, right? As soon as that one nade goes off, the entire team goes into disarray because suddenly you only have 2 players, you're being shot at from elsewhere. Other teams can start to focus on just those 2 players instead of 3 targets, and you realistically only have to take down 1, which is exactly what Narvalo did. I am just honestly, once again, astonished, and it's a single player from Gamelord once again popping off.
Absolutely. And not only that, it's great news for their push for the top of the tables, right? Because QODEX go down a little bit earlier, not the greatest point values there. Yeah. We were talking about, oh, well, they're a solo now, so maybe they can get a couple more points. But that is one hell of a way to get all the points that they were looking for on that game. MADBULLS, though, they take the chicken dinner.
I don't like this. I don't like this. Kalaris, do you like this? Because I don't like this. This has got to be a glitch in the Matrix.
No, I don't understand. It's ridiculous.
Look, okay, Kalaris kept reading the script before. I was like, I'll take a sneaky peek, okay? And I saw what was going to happen today. So I had a good idea what was going to happen. But yeah, MADBULLS.
Although,
hey,
based on the fact that... okay. You know what?
It's so funny. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You know what's kind of impressive is that between the analysts, we're 100% so far today. That's kind of crazy, huh?
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Hey, like we know I'm also 100% in being wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
Well, you know what, Max? You know the rule, by the way. If you get 2 predictions in a row correct, you have to host the show.
What? Wait, that rule did not exist before, okay?
Shave both your eyebrows.
And he gets
You can't create rules as we go on. No.
I mean, I can. I'm the host. Look at the match rankings, though. 25 points for MADBULLS. And honestly, there was a fight up against VP, if I'm not mistaken, where I think that MADBULLS probably would have lost that fight, Max. But there was a nade that came in out of Monkey that like downed 2 players that just kind of saved them because they were being or having nades cooked against them at the same time.
Yeah, I think there was a lot more options actually available for Virtus, and that's something you brought up, Kalaris, especially during that fight, is they could have went right for the compound where Doom were. The next phase, they were actually still inside the circle, but instead they pushed Mad. So MADBULLS had the high ground advantage, of course, and they pushed right into the dip, a very, very nadeable position. So, of course, just like a few nades here and there, and of course, the nade from Monkey you just mentioned was really on point. So, I think the push could have been played otherwise for VIRTUS.PRO, but MADBULLS, defending that position extremely well versus Big and also the side of VIRTUS.PRO. So, big props to them.
To play devil's advocate, though, I mean, VIRTUS.PRO can't have known the exact position of every single MADBULLS player when they make that rotation around to the south, right? So they're playing with not full information when they make that and thinking that maybe they can play those hills and see how it goes. They got themselves then caught in dips, and they do actually completely get butchered, it really feels like, by MADBULLS in that scenario towards the end of it. So yeah, good for MADBULLS. They had a lot of room to work with down towards the south. Did you take a look at these highlights coming on in? But yeah, if anything works out overall, a crash through to Doom's compound could have been good, but yeah, good game overall.
The first clip we actually saw these highlights, I didn't want to brush over, was the play from ARB up against, I believe it was Death Machine. And if I'm not mistaken, Kalaris, you noticed that the player like jump punched to be silent to pick up a grenade. and then cooked it and naded the opponent on this opposing staircase, which was actually like a sick play.
Yeah, a little stalemate scenario and stuff like that. And I think in those moments when you do get yourself caught, where I think it was Hamodi was on the other side. There's a lot of Hamodis in this lobby, guys. For a moment, I got confused. There's so many. There are moments where you get caught in these stalemates where you're like, okay, how long am I going to sit here? Has he moved? Do I need to relocate as well? So for him to just take a little duck away, I think he was fed the information that a nade was down there by a teammate to then go and pick it up and then run back around and actually go for it. So cool little move and worked out.
Yeah, great to see. Let's actually take a look at the MADBULLS player stats though from the last match, so Max can gloat even more about being it right.
Good job, Max.
Hell yeah. Hey, I'll take it. Okay, it doesn't happen very often. I think my luck might run dry after this day, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Monkey, those nades, as you already stated earlier here, Jason, like the nades were really on point when it came to his play in particular. They had so much space in the southern side, plus they had the high ground position, which I think is really what made the difference between how MADBULLS played that end game and how VIRTUS.PRO played it, because VIRTUS.PRO, being unfortunately starved out of information, really didn't have intel on where MADBULLS were playing. MADBULLS had all the information on where Big were playing, Unicorns of Love, Game Lord, Dooms, and of course VIRTUS.PRO. So off the back of that, they can play extremely well. And this is a team that we saw last year, right, as a team that we didn't know too much, that has already had some decent performances on big stage tournaments. So coming into this region, I feel like they can be some of the top contenders here.
Yeah, I think they're proven to be so. The question is obviously if they can kind of maintain that performance over the next weeks, because this is only the first phase. And in this first phase, I'm actually curious about who's currently leading when it comes to overalls. Remember, at the end of our first phase, which is 6 play days, the team with the highest amount of points will be getting 20 points added to their finals points. We also do have an extra Livik to play though on the last day of our phase, so we can't forget about that. But we can see within our overalls though, that 27-point lead that QODEX had at the start of the day, it's been surpassed by Game Lord.
These have been clutch performances as well from Game Lord. I mean, they have not exactly been, you know, 4 alive at the end of a lot of these games, but it's, yeah, exactly. Every single component is able to make magic happen in those final clutch moments, right? You see Narvalo being able to do it. You see Robs being able to do it. And I think that is really some of the X factor that Game Lord has coming into this tournament. And I think other teams are going to need it too.
Yeah.
Looking down the list though, Max, look at Na'Vi. We talked about them at the start of the day. They're still being quiet.
Yeah, still being quiet. They only got one more game to play today, and they're going to be done. So yeah, Na'Vi need to step up big time. I think that we got, especially VIRTUS.PRO, we still need to see that big step up from them in particular, and even lower. I mean, XTEAM, unfortunate for them, they got dropped on very early on by, what was it, TJB, I believe, in Hacienda del Patron. That is a very weird spot that we saw it changed up to.
Yeah.
XTEAM not really having a good time in this lobby so far.
That actually, I mean, I really want to touch on that, Jason, if I may. That's a really weird dynamic to potentially have on Miramar, as well as potentially other battlegrounds, right? Like, the fact that they went Hacienda del Patron and actually just go for this hot drop. If TJB, well, there's 2 things. One, they either do roaming hot drop and actually try and aim for these teams that they think are weaker, in inverted commas, and try and go for them, or they could potentially, if they keep doing this on Miramar, wrestle this position completely away from XTEAM if they keep winning that fight out. And through the phases, we could see that become a push away. So I'm excited to see if that does develop in that kind of way.
I think one great thing from TJB we saw this season is they are willing to make changes that in the past they would not make, right? When you look back at last season, they would always go like Valdemar, Trumacera position. In Sanhok, they would always go for Same. We saw in like 2 days of play them already willing to change those drop locations, which for me, that's a great improvement from what we saw in the past. I would have loved to see it happen in PMWI. Unfortunately, they didn't, but at least they're doing it now. So I'm stoked, and I hope they're going to try and keep bringing these changes to the table and to hopefully keep improving that.
You know what's kind of making me sad though, because I was actually, I was looking off on my other screen here, checking something. This is also pretty much the same X team that had like one of our highest point scoring games ever in PUBG Mobile at 39 points. They had 24 limbs plus the 15 points from the chicken dinner. Obviously, it was kind of a flash in the pan for them, but I was expecting a little bit more out of them so far in this event, just because they've shown like greatness, but they haven't been able to replicate it.
I think it's going to be difficult in this lobby to replicate that. I think that here in West Europe, I think there has been, with new teams coming in, being incorporated, with even new regions being incorporated, I think it will be tough for them to attain that kind of performance and be consistent with it again, for sure.
This is X Team's last 5 matches and points scored. You can see the last match on the left-hand side, 1-1-0-3. I mean, the upside is for them, right? I'd say scoring low in one league phase or in one phase isn't that big of a deal, but you need to bounce back. You got phase 2, you got phase 3, you have a lot of extra matches to go here. And we have another match to go actually as we head into our 4th match today. So let's throw it on back over to John Allen and Blink for Sanhok once again.
It's the second Sanhok. I mean, you know, we know about first Sanhok, but did you know about second Sanhok, Blank? Did you know?
Because the desk is so fantastic that they actually mentioned it right at the beginning of the day.
Sure.
So I was very ready for the second Sanhok. I'm looking forward to the second Sanhok, and I'm hoping, though, the circles aren't as cruel as the first Sanhok, because that was not fun for any of these teams, you know, dropping over towards that bridge side and then us getting basically an eastern circle right on the edge of Hatin. Ooh, nasty stuff.
Not ideal, certainly. And big with their position over in the northwest. Might have normally looked to move a little bit earlier, but they were able to just stay there on their hillside and do everyone dirty on that northwestern island. Blame path, Akawi to Hatin.
Really, this is going to be super beneficial to MADBULLS getting over to a Paradise Resort almost immediately. Pioneers will be heading over towards boot camp. We'll see if anyone wants to drop with them. ARB aren't currently in this lobby at the oh no, I'm wrong. I've not read the list properly there, but ARB will be dropping with them once again towards boot camp. So we will have a little scuffle happening. QODEX still heading up on the highest damage, but Narvalo really taking it home towards the top there with 3.1k. Absolutely fantastic stuff for them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, taking that top spot. He's going to be there with the knockouts as well. Narvalo absolutely doing work in that last game. The circle, northwest, hard shift. But again, Pioneer ARB on that scrap style game. Oh, DBS swapped out for, I mean, fair enough, especially in these early boot camp drops. Hamo goes 1-for-1 on the trade. Black-White wants to hit the deck, but 2 players from ARB are down. Havlik on the swivel, finds the angle on Hamodi. There's 2 players here. They push around the side. The Tommy gun almost out of ammo. That's it. Swift for Pioneer.
Right, well, I think for ARB, it's time to stop challenging Pioneer in boot camp. This is bad idea overall. So you're going to lose a lot of points doing this. So maybe not go for that anymore. TJB, though, very, very flexible at the moment. Heading over towards just the west side of Camp Bravo. Not taking up Tap Mock this time. Changing things up once again. You know, I think they do get to a lot of these end circles now. Not comfortably. It's a little bit awkward at times, but they are making it happen regardless. So for TJB, I've got to give them some respect. It's just annoying because I think the reason we talk about TJB so much is because I think we all here on the Western European broadcast see them to have more potential than they're giving us right now. Unfortunately, I say that as GK first hits the deck.
Similar story for Na'Vi as well, losing their player all the way up to the North Matic, flushed out by the MADBULLS. Chicken dinner winners of match number 3 today, one we just had. Be able to get that healing back up on Monkey. Back to full HP. Soon enough, soon enough. Painan operated by 2 teams right now, Nexus and QODEX. QODEX on the southwest island, Painan held by Nexus on the mainland island on the east side. No one really going for this fight just yet. They haven't got those sight lines. Looks like QODEX are just going to fully disengage.
Interesting drop from MADBULLS, actually, as they lose one. The Eastern Stars currently in Hatin. They had a perfect, like, instantaneous drop in Paradise Resort to pick up a lot of loot. And the only way that I can see them choosing this drop spot is if they stayed in the plane for as long as possible to wait for the circle to hit, and then they've moved them instantly over towards the northwest island. Which is a curious way of going about Sanhok. It doesn't give you the best initial drops because you do have to kind of pick up not the best compounds, not the most fortuitous locations for looting, but it does give you an ideal position in the circle itself. But losing Monkey there, I think they do get him back up again. Still, now Eastern Stars know where they're sitting.
It was just a cheeky little knock. Unfortunately for Big, they're not in this lobby, right? This would be a really good result for Big, given their drop location. But this time around, Na'Vi can kind of look to take the top of the mountains on that northwestern island, which we've seen it so many times before when the circles go this way, is a very, very difficult position to try and push on in. It needs basically two teams on opposite sides of the mountain to go at the same time to really have a good chance. Luckily, though, for the teams looking to move up, Na'Vi only have 3. And only at the moment, Tixi on the top.
Losing one there. I think the only team that I can imagine taking that one player will be the MADBULLS, because they've got one elimination point their way, and Team Doom, they're nowhere near Na'Vi, so that can be the only team that did take that elimination point away. And again, John, yeah, that is rough days for Na'Vi, considering, you know, you finally get a very, very dominant Western Circle that's heading towards the area where you love to drop, and you lose a player there. You need those 4 players for the mountain play. You need to hold a lot of different angles. Pioneer, unfortunately, rotating right into Death Machine.
Game Lord are there as well, though, as Pioneer trying to get up the beach land. And not fully out just yet, NASA. Taken low. RAP. Putting those stems behind the tree. Rez is coming through for Pioneer on the cross. And Spray's continuing to pour over towards Death Machine. It's not as disastrous as it might at first look, Blank.
No, and especially with Death Machine, they played right on the northern side of the warehouses in boot camp. So potentially looking to hold out the two teams that were going head-to-head in boot camp at the beginning. Pioneer make their crossing, and Death Machine's just a little quicker because they rotate out of those warehouses early. This really is, you know, saved by the bell with Game Lord being in this position to help out Pioneer. It may come back to bite them, though, considering how close Pioneer are to Game Lord.
It is going to be a difficult push to make, but apparently not, as Black White's already on up, and I don't think Rops had any idea that they'd made this ascent, thinking that maybe they were further along on the beach land, but now it's a rescue mission for Game Lord to try and capitalize off their beautiful solo performance from Narvalo in the last game. Unfortunately, Rops will not be able to contend with this game. Narvalo not done. We'll find an answer over towards Game Lord. Sorry, over towards Death Machine. Is Pioneer actually just going to skirt along this coastline and move past Game Lord?
Yeah, the moment they're just surrounding this compound is so sad as well, considering Game Lord kind of dug them out of what was a horrible, horrible spot for them. And now they do pay the price for it. Like I said, you know, there were consequences for taking that third party too early. Again, they had eyes on, so maybe they want to do that and secure this position. It's a great spot on the coastal side with some great angles. But now Game Lord have to hold it with just 3, and it's a similar scenario with Na'Vi up top with just 3. You're holding a very, very strong compound with not the members you want to have. Victor starts it off very well for them.
Akashi assassinates the flush, bringing them up to 2 eliminations so far. Pioneer humbled just that little bit after their first 4 eliminations in boot camp. A lot of 3-player teams on this Northwestern Island now, Blank.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not so big of a deal being a 3-player team on the Northwest side, as long as all the other teams are 3 players.
The big shotgun comes up against a bigger shotgun there, unfortunately, and it's barrel-based fish for the Pioneer crossing. Or for the Confluence crossing, even. Game Lord could be on a sideswipe here. Victor spotted. Narvalo now under pressure. Fash steps up, and it should be easy pickings there. It should be 1 and 2 and done for Pioneer.
Yeah, really good swipe there from Fash. Fortunately, takes Game Lord down to just 2 now. Akashi and Victor, though, you know, very long-standing members of the team. They'll work well hand in hand. Akashi on IGL duties, as well as Victor just being that strong post-up in terms of a fragger. But now QODEX starting to make their way across, and realistically, Game Lord just aren't ready for this. And if they were, they might have been able to start picking off QODEX as they were coming out the water. But at this rate, it looks like QODEX will make all 4 players across already before they can even react.
TJB on the northeastern side, doing work over in Cal. Na'Vi lose another player on the top of the mountain. So plenty of opportunity now for teams to start to maybe take that position away from them. Game Lord, they're down on that coastline as well. So QODEX now with a chance to take out their rivals towards the top of the tables. It's back and forth.
Still Akashi on the floor. I wonder if he got re-knocked there before Victor. Yeah, Victor got back up on his feet and Akashi was knocked inside the building. Dear me, it's been rough for Game Lord there, just making the wrong decisions. And realistically, it's not entirely their fault. A lot of those times, they see Death Machine reveal their positions. They don't exactly know where they're shooting. They don't know how close Pioneer is to them. They regroup and are able to restabilize after that little mess they had with Pioneer. But instantly afterwards, QODEX is already crawling across. And again, they have to stabilize again. It's just been a case of finding their feet time and time and again, just on oily carpet.
Andy from XTEAM trying his best against Team Doom, but this was XTEAM going down to Team Doom. The desk were talking about how we needed to see more from XTEAM, but we won't be seeing it this game. Tixi, again, knocked MADBULLS moving through. They've been such a problem for Na'Vi on this northwestern island, so now only Meku remains for Na'Vi. Game Lord, similarly stripped of their colors. It's Victor are standing.
We had Robs. We had Narvalo. Perhaps it's Victor's turn, but it's highly unlikely. I think he's been put in a position where, you know, they'd have to all be in the same spot together. They are rotating all as a unit, so one nade could possibly get a few knocks if they're not careful here. This is a bit dangerous, the way that they're sweeping. Finally, they split up.
One good spray could be all it takes. PNL crosses the road, gets shut down almost immediately. Victor just wants the point there. We'll be able to claim that, but now they know exactly where he is. S12K around through the window. So dangerous for Victor to try and push this one through. A volley will shut him down. One player lost. QODEX down to 3. How much further can they go? Can they take back control of the top table spot?
Yeah, that was a really important elimination for QODEX, actually. Unfortunately, they do lose that one player. When you come to the Northwest Island, unfortunately, you have to leave one player behind, John. It's just the way of things. With QODEX now, with 4 eliminations, though, like you said, this is an opportunity for them to start gaining once again on Game Lord, or at least tie even with them. They're not that far behind. And I think for Game Lord, they've really been, you know, grasping for those points recently. They've not been clean games. Kalaris was talking about this on the desk where, yeah, we've not seen them at full force strength other than that very first day where they held the compounds to themselves in Erangel. But they've still been putting up those points. Unfortunately, Shockwave will take down once again another player from QODEX here, so only 2 left up standing.
TJB spot a player from Unicorns of Love who do have 3 players total. They're spread out along the coastline a bit further down. Icy God seemingly just taking a little bit of drowning damage there. GK first gets the spray. Nicely found. That'll be a knock, and that'll be bleeding out in the river on the north side. No way to get that one back up. TJB down to 3. QODEX alive, still on 3 as well.
MADBULLS frog leap over the top of Na'Vi there after their initial knock onto them, all going according to plan here for the evil geniuses up towards the top of the mountain. Find that single knock and flush right at the beginning of the game, and then as the circle starts to come a little bit closer to this northwest side, dismount Na'Vi and take up their spot. And this is why you do need the 4 players. You can see the way they're positioned on your map right now. You need those 4 locations all held down. Now, this is not the ideal circle for them. They'd much rather this was central. There is still opportunity for this to come back to the western side. I think for MADBULLS right now, you just kind of have to hang on to this spot. If things do go badly for you, so be it. But if the circle comes back across, you know, it's almost a guaranteed win. So you're gambling with the circle right now.
Team Doom have been fighting pretty hard on their rotations so far. 4 eliminations. I believe they were the team to take down XTEAM earlier in the game. Picking up a whole bunch of points for that, but they are looking to make their crossing now. Already got one across, but Take Aim Gaming spot perks across the way, and the M4 spray on the 4X is good. Potential cover being found, but a lot of tap damage into the legs of perks there. Cover finally found, but the regroup not so easy.
TJB losing of it. 3 players now. They're rotating over the top side of Hatin, so it was inevitable they were going to come into contact with Eastern Stars. The question for TJB is, like, for them, they're thinking there's a 4-man team in Hatin. What they don't know is Eastern Stars have actually sent 2 players down towards the southern side to try and find themselves a spot to anchor in, which is very fair to Eastern Stars. They want to be careful of this north coast, so teams are obviously going to come across the bridge or try and swipe on the top side of Hatin by swimming across. So I like that they've left players in here, as Hatin is quite easy to hold down, especially with the walls around the side. You still can get crashed upon, but I think now it's time for Eastern Stars to make their lead. They do have a vehicle behind them. They've done enough damage to TJB to understand that, you know, as a 4, they can start to control the positioning of TJB now. So I like this play from Eastern Stars so far.
Take Aim Gaming looking to take 4 Romanian men out of the lobby, but a nice hold on that crash out to the coastline means that Take Aim Gaming might be down to 3 as well. They have, in fact, paid their Northwest Island tax of 1 player to enter. Eastern Stars might be about to do the same, as Bazzi has gone down. They have been holding out there for quite a while. The only team, really, that hasn't had to do so, I take that back, MADBULLS, they have had a knock go over their way. Zerek can move over towards Effect, but they will lose some control on that southeastern side. Shockwave, again, a 4-player team on that northwestern island, but right up on the coastline on the east.
Yeah, it's 1 apiece there. Make that 2, actually. Eastern Stars take another knock and a flush as well. So Eastern Stars down to 3 players, finally. Find yourself on the Northwest Island with 3 players. It's where you're meant to be, in fact, so don't feel too badly about it. I think everyone's suffering from the same problem. MADBULLS, though, they will pick up their singular player, and TJB is swooping in from behind. You'd hope Monkey has spotted this, and with the nades that should have looted from Camp Alpha before he made his way up here, might be able to thwart that. And I think that is actually something that we do need to consider here, John, is that, you know, because they're able to loot in Camp Alpha and not instantly send it up towards the top side of the mountain, they have a lot of loot and a lot of utility to continue this push going.
Momentum to keep it on up. See if
Pain.
that can be dealt with. Pain, indeed. For so many, to be honest, for so many of these teams, based on this circle, right? Unicorns of Love, maybe the only team that isn't super unhappy about this, but they only have 2 players. Can they hold their compound?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit awkward. I wonder if this is scripted, though, because this is practically the same circle as we had last Sanhok. Yeah. Yeah, now we just need it to head back to the island and head a little bit out towards the coastal side.
MADBULLS descending from the top of the hill. Meku, solo player, Ting Skirt, spots around the side, and UMP finds its mark. Na'Vi eliminated. Eastern Stars getting pushed on down. QODEX, they're still alive with 3. Actually moved up with a player pretty close to the circle in some of their buildings.
Yeah, sent Folly up top side towards a compound that's just about in the circle, like you say. Do get our predictions coming in. Jason with Shockwave, I mean, it's not a bad pick, actually, with the 4 players down there. It's a question whether they can sweep upwards. They don't really have a lot of compound cover. Interesting decisions coming through, though. Nexus Gaming for Max. I think that's probably the one that's interested me the most, considering they're all the way on the eastern side. You know, they're still in the blue with 4 players. They might be able to sneak across the bridge.
Oh. But Caloris predicted the MADBULLS, and look at that. Just as they come up on the screen, they're able to take down the pressure on the front lines. I wonder how many teams are we going to start to see healing out in the zone right now. The MADBULLS still control a really strong ridge line here. They have great sight lines over the majority of the circle.
They've made the move fairly early. Vito, though, looks over towards TJB. The rest of the team trying to recall him as soon as possible. Finds a singular knock, and I think that's good. Tingsker might be able to just about peek him, but he gets around the corner just in time. Unfortunately, Tingsker is left high and dry.
There we go. MoneyKen spots Tingsker, gets that knock done. 4 first aid kits for MoneyKen. Should be okay to see himself into the circle. It's GK first left back with 14 first aid kits, 14, and will be able to bandage still for the time being. teams really starting to invest in this healing strat now. 4 Romanian men, TakeAim Gaming, Team Doom, GK First from TJB. All of these teams, 4 teams right now healing already in Zone 5.
Practically the same circle. Now Nexus. Here, Max biting his nails off on the analyst desk right now. So if you catch any chattering, you know exactly what that is.
Is that Max or was that
Shockwave.
Jason prediction?
That was a Max prediction. Pretty sure. Okay, I could be wrong.
For Nexus, you're right. It's pretty hairy right now for Nexus. They will have to get out of the water, get up on the coastline. Try and find some sort of position. MADBULLS need to handle the players from the Eastern Stars on the northwestern side, and then they can start to turn their attention to the rest of the circle as well. It'll be so interesting to see where this next one pops as well.
It will be. It heads over towards Unicorns or Love's position. Like you say, John, with the 2 players, it can be hard to hold it down. I just confirmed with Max, it is his pick on Nexus. You know, Shockwave is fairly occupied right now, so Nexus can make their way up onto the coast. And if they do choose to try and hit up Unicorns with Love's position, they can take that spot, and it might be really good for them.
QODEX are still going as well. So that chance towards the top spot looking all the better to just take that one straight back. Shockwave now in a fight with Death Machine. They're getting peppered from all angles. Look at this. Shots from the MADBULLS taking on QODEX. Shockwave eliminated. These predictions are not looking too good for the Shockwave team or their supporters at the moment. Death Machine stay alive, though, for the time being. Now the circle pushes MADBULLS off the top of this hill. One of the few players, one of the few teams with all 4 alive.
Yeah, this next couple of minutes is going to be absolutely essential to a lot of these teams. This is what I was talking about before. Nexus find their way up to this wall side. Unicorns are Love. These nades have to be perfect and on point. They need instant knocks, but Nexus are being really patient with it right now, sending Doran wide. Quite smart. They just need to stay away from the vision of MADBULLS. Like I said, the next few minutes is just all about trying to do as much damage as possible. MADBULLS instantly sends skills into the circle to try and find a position, smoke up, and eventually find a rock to play around with.
This could be a good nade.
Men going down.
Crypto, Gonzo trying to launch them in, but not really finding what they were looking for against Nexus. MADBULLS have descended, so that sightline not really as impactful as it was on this engagement. Octavian tries to go for the cross. Sliver peeks out, but it is tucked away in time. A nade around the side. There's the shot you're looking for. Crypto holds out Nexus on the eastern side. In comes the push from Serra. Close range, but Crypto has the DBS. Serra not going to let that phase him. Low HP, though, and the blue zone is there. Only Octavian left standing for Nexus Gaming. Unicorns of Love eliminated. How far could Octavian go? No further, unfortunately. They will be taken down. MADBULLS, 10 eliminations now from the top of the mountain. They have all 4 alive. This is their game to lose.
It's going to be very difficult to lose as well. Sending a player in, and like I said, those minutes were important, but Kapahala has eyes on. Needs to get rid of that player in the watchtower. Only had 1 medical kit. He's dropped down. This is potentially a start for Kapahala here.
All right, okay, it's a potential
There's a knock as well.
run. That's a flush onto one of the MADBULLS players. Eastern Stars with their solo still in the zone. In the meantime, TakeAim Gaming, you can see them still alive. Happy out on the back left on the southwest side of this circle, healing for a while now. I don't know how many more meds he has, but will be on trucking. If Kapahala gets spotted by Death Machine, that's the worst case scenario for him.
It really is, but they're so focused on Death Machine at the moment, and MADBULLS. Now might be time for Kapahala to go fully rogue with the backstab. Needs Death Machine to stay alive for a bit longer, but the nade is short. They see the arc. They know there's another player here, and Effect jumps out wide. Now it's Kapahala time.
He needs to get both of these sprays. One looking not so good. And the MADBULLS take it home. Eastern Stars eliminated. Second place for them, a good result. But with, I think, 12, 13 eliminations on that game, the MADBULLS take home a dominant Northwest Islands performance.
Yeah, very, very well done to them. Dismounting Na'Vi after initially taking their first knock and flush. I think just the calculating of how they wanted to play that one out, because they were very happy to sit in Camp Alpha for a long time there, John, before they head up towards the top of the mountain. Then they move through, they slowly pick apart Na'Vi, and then take that top spot. And I kept mentioning how important those couple of minutes were. They sent skills down into the circle as a base of operations, and then the rest of the guys are playing on the ridge side, just trying to do as much damage to teams coming in. MoneyCam with a grenade elimination keeps popping up here, but it's Xeric and Effect who are really putting in the work there. It's pretty much all MADBULLS across the board. Very, very well done to them.
That's all 4 MADBULLS on the match report there. Very good. I don't think we've seen that before.
Each getting a reward. You'd love to see it.
Big fan. Top Traveler for Skillses.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. I think that, you know, for MADBULLS, every single thing that they did in this game was designed for the chicken dinner. And I think that's what I liked about it so much, John, is that each single movement was purposeful to essentially end up with that chicken dinner with the 4 players on top. It was really, really well done.
Well, we're going to have a short little intermission. Don't go anywhere. The last game of the day is coming right on up. Back over to the desk.
You know what? You guys might be on point today, but I've been on point this entire event of never guessing a prediction correctly. How about those apples?
Unbelievable.
Good job.
We're 100% between us, Max. I can't believe this is quite the moment. And somehow, I did the same as yesterday. I called the winner of the game after they'd already won a game. I had QODEX yesterday. And okay, I'll stop, Jason.
Okay. He's real salty.
Gloating. I'm not salty. You're salty. Shut up. Get out of here, Max. You're the host now. Let's take a look at the results though from the match and see how many points they got, as well as some other teams, because MADBULLS have been on a mad tear today. I'm actually curious to see if they moved up into potentially first place on our overalls, but 28 points, 13 elims. I think for me, they're showing again, they can get finishes, they can get those chicken dinners, but the limbs that they're backing these wins up with are ridiculous.
Like when they get a win, it is a big win. They get a lot of eliminations. They know how to play these positions extremely well. And I mean, we saw it last year, right? MADBULLS being able to perform and really come into this region. This was one of the teams that I had my eye out for to potentially perform this well. And it took one day, but they're getting there. And especially, they went for that first knock and elimination on Matic of the side of Na'Vi. And then you have all of that potential push you can take on the mountaintop on the northwest of Sanhok. They take that spot, they got a huge split, all of the information in the world you could ask for, and they play with it extremely, extremely well.
Exactly. The key thing that you say there is the high ground that they seized. And as much as sometimes in those circles, when it shifts east and then they have to get off of that hillside, yeah, it can be a bit fraught with danger. You are still, at least, it's fraught with danger, yes, but as you say, they're playing with the information. They know where they have open, and they know that potentially a threat could be there if it does present itself. So I think that it's a good information game, and they convert with the eliminations too.
You know, Max, you had a prediction of NEXUS.
Well, no.
Oh,
Misclick. I don't know. No, I had 2 in a row, so I was like, I'm just going to go for a little bit of an underhand kind of prediction. And I thought, you know, in NEXUS, the fact that they were able to cross the river, I thought they were going to die there really quickly, but they did cross, but unfortunately the nades and all the play from Unicorns of Love was a little bit too good, a little bit too hard to deal with. This is the push in particular where they just had no information. Unicorns of Love were in that compound, and they just had very predictable angles they were crossing through, so they got knocked out pretty quickly. But yeah, there, MADBULLS go down with the information and knew where some of the last players were, so pretty easy pickup.
Yeah, and on the note of MADBULLS, as we were kind of discussing while watching the game, we got to talk about the rotating groups and how it kind of affects the way teams drop, or obviously where they drop, and how they play out rotations. And Colaris, I know you were talking about this quite a bit, of how many like pieces of having 4 teams coming out and 4 coming in changes for the rest of the lobby. I wanted you to kind of like brush us up on that. Yeah, there was a lot of moving pieces. Probably too much for me to barrage the people out there with information on like VP's not there, so everybody's dropping on the east side. And then the big one though that matters here, fully enough, is big. The fact that they are not in this lobby, and Blank summed it up nicely at the end of the cast as well, means that
MADBULLS, all of their moves are designed to eventually get them to the victory. So let's quickly break this down. MADBULLS makes the mad dash send up to the northwest island, one, because the circle is very likely to center up on that kind of island later on, but also because Big is not in the lobby. They rock up, they find Matic, take him out because he's only a solo, but the reason Matic is a solo is because Na'Vi realizes Big's not in this lobby, so they're spread out and everything like that. So yeah, okay, MADBULLS gets one elimination off the back of that. But then, because they've got one elimination on Na'Vi, they then, Max, take the high ground where Na'Vi normally is, right? And then that has the knock-on snowball effect. So even just from these groups rotating, it's a very interesting dynamic that you're constantly seeing kind of even just slight things have the knock-on effects to be able to get to the win.
And it's what I'm really surprised with MADBULLS was how effective it was, right? Because I was expecting these kind of plays around the lobby changes to happen maybe like, you know, a little bit later on down the line in this tournament. The fact it's already happening on day 2 shows how much work and time has been spent for some of these teams to make that research and to go in with a plan. And really, with the speed especially they were going with it, it's definitely not a big surprise. But here can I see their comparison with yesterday's games and also today's games. Yesterday was not that bad. 1,000 average damage is really good, but almost reaching 2,000 average damage on these games and an average elimination of 9.3 is mental for MADBULLS. And like really, this team could go a really long way, and I think they're doing it already on the second day.
Right, and this is a great comparison to draw, right? Because if you think about, again, even just this game in isolated incident, they are taking away information from day 1 into day 2. They're saying, okay, this team is not in this lobby, let's go for this. And it wasn't a slow crash by any means. It wasn't a slow rotation by any means of the imagination. They just went for it because they know that all of these little things at play add up to them being able to take this spot, move down the west coast of that northwest island as freely as they did. If I was Kitsune over in Camp Alpha for a long time, I'm scared. I can hear these guys driving around. I know they've taken out one of my players. They're going to seize our high ground. So yeah, I love everything MADBULLS did in this game. It was really well done.
Okay, well, I'm actually wondering, can we maybe take a look at our overalls? Because we have a little bit of time before our final match of the day, which will be on Erangel. But I'm just curious to see how far potentially has MADBULLS moved up. Oh my gosh.
Woo. Okay, we breached 100 points. Yeah, I mean, those 2 last games are absolutely mental from them. So, of course, it was going to happen eventually. The team was going to reach 100-point margin, but the fact that they do it was 64 placement points, 42 eliminations. Like, it is mostly off the back of those conversions in those wins, but even then, the eliminations are really stacking up. We saw that 9.3 average elimination for today is huge. So, sure, they're not that typical 50-50 split you want to see, but it's still a really good step up for MADBULLS. And the question stands, can they hold on? So far, it seems like they will.
I'm actually really happy to see that we've had some consistency from the last season to this one. I mean, Game Lord seen up here, Death Machine, I believe known as Clear Vision before. Like, we are seeing some teams be consistent season in, season out. Also, I'd point out Big have been able to make a move up here as well with obviously the victory they had at the start of the day. They were looking very low on the table. But there's still some teams out there that I'm wondering what's going on. Like TJB, 41 points. I wanted to see a little bit more out of them. Shockwave, I had a little bit higher hopes because we know how good of a player Trazen could be. But as well as Na'Vi sitting in 11th.
Yeah, for TJB, obviously, we also looked at it in this game and thought to ourselves, are they going to go down to Salmi based on those group rotations, right? They did not. They actually shifted a little bit to the east side of Paradise Resort, right? And then eventually they got themselves a little caught, and there wasn't really much that they could do here on another Sanhok. And it's TJB on Sanhok, Max. We need the points.
Exactly. I'm just looking at Nexus and feeling like Octavian, like, oh, I wish I stayed with Eastern Stars, but he didn't. He left. A little bit salty potentially there. But yeah, I mean, some teams at the bottom, we want to see them step up. I want to see especially Team Doom potentially do a little bit better because they got Perks to join. Like, he's a real legacy player when it comes to the region, right? So, like, maybe Perks will bring a lot of changes to the team, but Team Doom so far also a little bit invisible.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually remember where Team Doom finished when it was last season, because I don't believe they fared too well, if I'm not mistaken.
Not great.
I was
Unless they got the good circle on the Sanhok Island, then they...
My guilty pleasure. I was sad.
All right, well, obviously we have about a minute left till we get into our final game of Erangel, but what I think overall in the day for me so far, it's been great to see so many different teams step up now across these days, and this kind of gives me hope that there's even more teams out there ready to strike when the iron's hot for them. But MADBULLS have really run away with this day like we saw QODEX do yesterday, and they still have one match left to go. They're in first place, over 100 points, with one match left to play. I think they're setting themselves up as being one of the kings of the lobby, and again, that does put a bullseye on your back, no pun intended there. But at the same time, they deserve it considering how methodical they were in that last match.
Yeah, 100%. I would say mainly it's because they have a plan and the execution is so quick. I was looking at last game and I would say, wait, no one dropped in Paradise. It's actually because they dropped in Paradise and they left so quickly. I didn't even think they dropped there in the first place. They just, as you said, blasted their spot over there. But looking at the elimination leaderboard so far, I mean, yeah, it's very, very tight between some of the top teams. But QODEX was yesterday's performance, still currently in the lead.
Okay, well, gentlemen, it is time to head into our final match of the day. So let's send it back to John on a blink once again here to round up the day.
We have got one more left to go. It is all coming to a close after this one. We're past that halfway mark at the first week of the first phase, but there's still plenty more games for all of these teams to earn those points, which do mean prizes.
That's absolutely right, Mr. John. We are going to be taking a short, tiny whiny break for our game. So we get to talk to you guys for a little bit longer and you get to look at us for just a little bit longer as well. I'm not sure if that's a blessing or a curse, but I'll leave that up to you guys at home. But looking at this, you know, it's not, I was just laughing because of the 9.6 thousand whatever eliminations. It's just switched, that's all. It's not a big deal. But yeah, it's interesting. I think, you know, this is one of the first seasons in a long time where we've kind of had more than just 6 top teams are all battling out. Like, you know, I look down towards the bottom of the tables and realistically, John, I don't really see any team that I feel very awful about, right? I feel like all these teams are performing decent.
Yeah, it's all about taking initiative and taking a look at the map performance here. The average damage to elimination count there. Looking pretty good for, I think, well, QODEX, I mean, specifically, have a pretty decent ratio. MADBULLS, not so much on Erangel, but with the 2 games that we've just seen them pull out the bag, maybe they'll be looking to change that one in this game still to come.
I think Pioneer probably excites me the most out of all these. 1,500 damage average is very, very nice, and an average elimination count of 7 across all our angles so far. Like you always say, John, sample size is a little bit small, but to me it doesn't really matter. I think just seeing the way Pioneers played, I've been enjoying like their edge play a lot, right? It's been very slow, very methodical, and yeah, they don't make a huge amount of noise, but you don't really need to when you're all cloak and daggers.
It's true. It's if you're just going to play for those placement points towards the late game, you can just try and hold on out. On Erangel, these rotations generally a little bit harder to play that cloak and dagger. I feel like Miramar is probably the place that you want to do that, or maybe or Sanhok on sort of 2 different styles of gameplay, right? Miramar, you might be able to go more unnoticed in general on your rotations. Sanhok, you can creep around, be a creepy crawly in the underground.
Yeah. Well, I think for Pioneer, it's a case of just always changing spots in our angle. And it's funny you say that, considering they're the boot camp team on Sanhok. So they are really not cloak and daggers. They just completely get the bandolier out and the 2 AKM in hands either side, which is interesting. But I do like the way that they play around that, right? So they play this slow edge play, but on Sanhok, it's all about blasting out early. And if they can take down ARB every single time, 4 points a game, right? If you could take down the entire team, it's not so bad on Sanhok. You'll take it, and then you get the rest of your points here on Miramar as well as Erangel. So interesting stuff. But we will have Pioneer dropping in with us for this match. Ruthless Esports as well, coming hot off their win on Erangel last time too, over towards Stalber. A little bit more of an interesting circle, that one, with a lot of moving parts, but Ruthless Esports were able to take it home with 4 players. Very difficult 4 players in that position as well, so still got to give props to them. We are coming over from Stalber. This is all the way on the northeast side of the island, and it looks like we're crossing right over the river down towards the west side of Gatka. So this is pretty comfortable for a lot of teams. Big should be able to get out nice and early towards Severny, and the guys on the desk were hoping for just a little bit more from this team, and so am I, to be honest with you. You know, they have such a legacy from their team and such good performances from a long time ago, and it just feels like the players just aren't meshing at the moment the way we'd like them to.
Hopefully they shall interweave their psyches a little bit more effectively in the games to come. Still plenty of the phase left to do so, and certainly plenty of the tournament still left to go for them. Got quite a while left to play, but it is all important to keep that performance good, steady, progressive, Eastern Stars-like, right? That's the way that we've always sort of seen Eastern Stars, as consistency. Seems like they have. They have. Well, so, to be fair, they have always had fairly decent league play sections, right? They have.
I'm going to direct your attention to last season. Do you remember when we used to cry out in pain when they would qualify to the Super Weekend right at the last minute, and then like kind of coast in Super Weekend as well?
Look. At Eastern Stars right now, because they're fighting Shockwave going into this game.
Right.
This is sharks in the water right now for the Eastern Stars as Terminus is on the roof. And there's not a lot that he can do here. That's that.
It's done. It's nice shots. Keme gets up there, jumps off the door. Difficult maneuver that. More difficult than you imagine it would be. These pro players can pull it off absolutely every single time. Me, on the other hand, I'm spamming the jump button and I basically 10th try. I'll just put it that way, 10th try.
Maybe one. Unicorns of Love spotting Team Doom around the edge of the apartment blocks. And George Cole and finding even more, but Zero answers with a knock onto Icy God with a drop shot from the DBS. Oh, what a turnbuckles drop there. Little bit of a frog splash from the top rope. Nicely done. Zero cut down on the cross. It's back and forth between these two teams, but Unicorns of Love cut down to 2. Team Doom as well with 2 active. It is absolutely brutal on the North Shore of Georgia Pool.
Yeah, it's not really working out for either of these teams at the moment. Unlikely that we'll see Zero get off the floor here.
Now that they know there's a DBS in play as well, Unicorns of Love unlikely to want to take these angle peaks. Perks is on the upstairs. Rollkiss looking to evacuate. Just clearing these buildings right now. Right around the sidelines. Phantom knows exactly where Rollkiss is. Can his teammate drop out? DBS around the side. Window is there. Out drops the teammate. Needs some suppression from his team as well. But Unicorns of Love not working in tandem, and they will fall apart because of it.
Goodness me. That has not gone well for them. Ruthless Esports loses Ulysses. The IGL goes out. Similarly taking a lot of damage on the way. There's Terminus. Athis beats him up a little bit. At the boxing match on the top side. This is right from the beginning of the game.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is the replay. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, hang on a minute. How did he get back up? He was dead. Didn't notice. QODEX on the west side of Potato Hill. Grabbing some vehicles. No one really too close to try and challenge them now that Ruthless have been put in their place just a little bit.
Death Machine, just underneath Rozok. Let's get their average stats here. 3.5 limbs per game. They survived for quite some time as well. This will be a little bit of a better match for them. A better map, sorry. Eastern Stars currently on their rotation. Moving down past prison, in fact, towards Milta Power. Loot up just a little bit more. Right now it's MUERTE who've actually taken up residence in Milta Power over the guys from Eastern Stars, so looking to reclaim their drop spot here. Circle heading up towards the northwest. Haven't talked too much about this so far, but it's really not causing a lot of problems for many teams, especially with the fact that, you know, there's so many rotational paths to get up there. You know, we have had 14 teams remaining at around 5 minutes for most of these games today, so there's some really aggressive play in this lobby, which is fantastic to see. Very exciting.
A lot of early hot drops, you're right. It seems like teams are really fighting for these positions, right? In a way that we haven't seen, I don't think, in many other tournaments. It feels like 1, maybe 2 games on each map and everybody's kind of figured out their drop spots. But it's good to see that changing.
Yeah, you really do wonder if this is part of the format change as well that's creating this, where we now have the points on the line for league stage. You know, you could cruise through that last week if you had enough points that set you ahead of everyone else, and you were just really the only people you would feel very sorry for were the people down towards 16th, 17th, and 18th who were all just like really trying very hard to get into the finals itself to start making some money. But now, you know, if you're on top, you still need to perform very, very well, because those 20 points, like we said before, you know, there is a total of 80. Most teams, in fact, I will say practically all teams throughout all regions will not be able to hit that magical 80 unless you are insanely, insanely good. But still, 40, 45, 50 points, like that is still too... It's just a huge game. It's like two very good chicken dinners with great eliminations right at the beginning of the finals. And with it being a sprint as well, catching up to that's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's an 18-game set in the finals, right, over those 3 days. But yeah, having that advantage, absolutely huge. As you say, two big chicken dinners. That's going to be an extra, what is that? Bringing your game total up to 20, essentially, and putting yourself at a massive, massive advantage. That's a ninth. I don't know what a ninth is as a percentage, but it's just over 10%, probably somewhere in, like, what, 11? 11 point? I want to say 11.1. I want to say 11.1% recurring.
All right.
I don't know why.
Go for it.
I'm doing that.
Go for it.
I think it is 11. Yeah, I don't know. It is 11.1 recurring percent. I'm right.
Go for that. We'll take it.
Go for it.
The thing is, though, is that, you know, you might have a very good run. I am just chatting about the format right now. I hope you guys at home don't mind. There's not too much action going on, and the format is quite exciting, at least for us. But there is also a potential that, you know, we go into the finals and practically everyone's scores are evened out because no one's performed consistently for every single phase, which is equally as good. And now you have a super fair finals because you know you've had a very fair lobby, that everyone is just really pumping out those points, and you just have that median average come across, and you know that whoever wins that finals in that moment really did deserve to win that finals. Either way, whatever happens with this format, we are going to find ourselves a very, very deserved winner in first place, and equally our second and third, and all the way down through to 16th.
Yeah, because, I mean, in general, PUBG Mobile is not about having one or two pop-off games. It's about it's about making good decisions consistently, and that's what we're looking for. And I think that's, as you've highlighted, what this format provides for this tournament and for these players as well. Because I think not only does it give us a better view of who's playing the best overall by whatever metric you want to choose, but it also gives you gives the players the freedom to look to just make those good decisions and not have to worry about necessarily in the finals just having, you know, 2 or 3 pop-off games that just see them at the top of the leaderboard, because they can have that buffer of points accrued during these league stages.
Look at the leaderboard now, though. You know, things are very close towards the top. Obviously, we do have one more weekend of phase 1 to determine who will be taking away those 20 points. Those very beautiful 20 points as well at the top there.
So beautiful.
So we'll see exactly how that does pan out. But right now, we're in our second day of phase 1. And so far, I've been loving it. Take a look at this circle, though. I would not like this so much if I was one of the players in the lobby, considering it does kind of split up between this riverside and with the west of Georgia Pole, that river there, the delta that comes in. You know, that's going to be quite difficult to play around with, especially with the bridge. So a lot of these teams have to figure out where they're going to sit on the beach here. Well, not on the beach here, but on like the coastal side, on the banks of this river, where they're going to find their compounds, just in case they do need to move across either south or north. We could have another central positioning, which will be equally awful.
Mazzaros
that pans out.
Right in the rotational path of 4 Romanian men. Gets a little bit of damage over to one of them, but Big now need to rally to position. 4 Romanian men spread out over the hillside, figuring out if they want to even take this fight. And you have to think that maybe not. Just get a little bit further in towards that shooting range. If Big have mounted up that position, 4 Romanian men try and skirt over the north side and get some better positioning on that shooting range hill on the northern shore.
This is time for Big to shine, considering coming in from Severny. Like you said, John, just underneath shooting range here. Team Doom towards North George. Really done too much, but there's a lot of teams coming from this eastern side. They'll be going into Long Woods as well. Fairly covert on the northern side. Game Lord currently just scouting out on the northern roads. It's Pioneer here, who have found themselves in a fairly decent compound. This is just below Everest. Really nice spot if you want to be checking teams that are coming across the road. You can get some really good spray downs, especially if you're all coordinated, which Pioneer all are in one building, more or less.
All the vehicles in the garage, they have that rollout capability. Cosplaying the Autobots for the time being. Over in the ruins on the western end of it, Death Machine. 3 players in one player split on the south. Still undecided as to which side of that river the circle is going to go, right? Because it is right down the middle, so teams are just not really wanting to move right now.
Then we're just squeezing teams in. And again, I think this is some really awkward terrain for a lot of teams to play because you don't want to go to the southwest of Rozhok. You don't want to get caught yourself in those rolling hills. There's no really reason to play down there either because it's not central anymore. You don't want to be on the south side of Gatka in the fields. Even you rotate past the west side of Everest, you're going into fielded area as well. You don't want to head too early into the crates. There's just so many areas within this circle that just aren't massively playable. Okay, that is very Everesty.
That really is, and MADBULLS seem to have all of that information. Look at that, they're already in those vehicles, waiting for that circle to pop. Now they send straight up to the top of the mountain.
They zoomed in. This was speedy. Very, very good performance from them to get right up there. They will be looking down towards XTEAM. I don't think they pose much of a threat right now because, honestly, the performance from XTEAM has been slightly lacking. 0 average eliminations, by the way, on Erangel so far. Not what I was expecting to see. Recreating the team around Beg for Mercy and Zombie. Hopefully they'd bring in some other players. Beg for Mercy just seems a little bit burnt out after last season, where he had to do much of the heavy lifting.
Machine getting across that road. Nexus Gaming spotted out. I think that's big across the way, across the river there on the northern shore, taking shots over towards them. Death Machine lead that charge. The fact that QODEX have split these two compounds is quite impressive.
I mean, you've got super control right now. I think that is the major thing, is that you'd ideally take one of these compounds to yourself. But if you can hold down 2, it is quite difficult to rock up onto these without being spotted because they're both like just around the roadside, and if you're coming up towards them, it is a hill that you have to push up on, which is quite open as well. So for QODEX, holding down both these compounds, are going to get a huge amount of information. They don't necessarily have to take too many shots towards anyone. Most teams are on this northern side, and if it does move down south, with a hard shift either down towards very, very much down to the south side or the southeast side, you know, they have compounds to regroup on, which is very, very fun to look at here. So QODEX, like you said, quite a bold play, but if they can pull it off, it will really, really net them quite a big amount of points.
Eastern Stars careening on the south side, trying to swing around with the blue zone right at their side on the left. They're on the south shore already. VIRTUS.PRO, right on the edge of ruins, have got that position on lock for now. Shockwave a little bit close by. Trazen, we've seen what he can do as a solo, and we have seen solos work pretty well today, but you have to wander from ruins right on the edge of the circle. It's not really going to work too far.
Well, at the moment, it's going to be tough to play around with. Getting a lot of the northern side still, though. They've played this very slow coming to circles. You can see them now just coming out of the blue. 4 Romanian men heading towards crates early on. Zarek, though, sending down from Everest, just scouting out. That was a very smart move. You know, he's anticipating the circle moving away from them. and also looking out to get some information on that northern side. So this could prove useful. Spots maybe a couple of teams in crates, but has to immediately remove himself and send him back up towards Everest, considering he's so heavily on that side.
I quite like the MADBULLS position as well. There's really no one on their western end. And looking out to the east of them, Death Machine are going to have to bear the brunt of these pushes coming on in. The teams on the east absolutely baying for the foothills and the top of that eastern side of Everest.
Be hard though. I think for Everest in particular, you know, it only really supports two teams, either on the eastern edge or the western edge. And now a lot of these other teams here will be starting to try and punch out and try and find as much room as possible in the circle. And if that requires you to take another team down, so be it. Big moves in.
Nexus Gaming rebuffs with 1-for-1 right now on the trade. SHOCKWAVE crosses through that smoke with the PP Bison in hand, and another knock is found as well. Sarah does fall. The two players on the inside of the compound for Nexus will still be standing. SHOCKWAVE is potentially resable here, but it looks like VIRTUS.PRO might have spotted it as well. Octavian spraying over towards Mihi, and Big are starting to fall down just a little bit. Unfortunately, Octavian taken low. VIRTUS.PRO want a horse in this race. They want to crash onto this compound, take down Nexus, eliminate this threat on the eastern side.
That is a depressing crash coming through from Big. All the eliminations that they set up to take were stolen by Tulika there. Even so onto their own side, so Nexus didn't get much out of this either. VP have really made this one hell of a third party. Very, very well done. Sits themselves up to 6 eliminations now.
There's a brutal crossfire right now. 4 Romanian men, PIONER and actually Doom on the back, trying to harry GameLord as they try and make their ascent of the east end of Everest. Death Machine now have to receive. MADBULLS will see this as well, as the nades fly back and forth between VIRTUS.PRO and Nexus, but the crash from GameLord really seemingly not going super well. There's 4 Romanian men pep at the back of them. I think Nexus are going to go down and GameLord go down first as well. XTEAM, they've been trying to move around on the south side this whole time, and the Eastern Stars have been shutting them down. So have the MADBULLS with their angles.
QODEX currently going toe-to-toe with MUERTE. In the compound, they regroup to. They do have one knock, though, but like you said, Eastern Stars looking to finish off the final player of XTEAM here in Andy. And GameLord made a very dangerous decision, quite an insane decision actually, to fly up to the top side of Everest. Surely they know that there's going to be 2 teams up there, and instantly Death Machine and MADBULLS just teamed up and were able to take down GameLord together, which is the most sensible decision, in my opinion.
QODEX, 7 eliminations, 3 alive. MADBULLS with 2 and 4 up the top of the hill. QODEX getting shut down just a little bit, but he's on the swivel. 2 players knocked. Moneyken needs to get these reses. And VIRTUS.PRO with 8 eliminations so far, and all 4 alive on their northern side. They do not have real time to spare. Eastern Stars want to ride in too.
Yeah, some serious thievery going on from VIRTUS.PRO. And some excellent third parties as well. You know, they have been coming to those engagements very late, but at the same time quickly picking up the points, and they come at just the opportune time when the knocks start to flow through. There's XTEAM trying to go up against Eastern Stars, but these guys are feeling very, very confident recently. Kapahala, though, stuck out inside the field.
The rest of the team did get dismantled there. QODEX in the smokes. Eastern Stars moving around. Death Machine now on the east side of Everest will have to stop MADBULLS from coming anywhere close. Team Doom eliminated on the northern foothills.
Xeric really playing the guessing game at the moment, just trying to send out before these circles hit so they can get ahead of Death Machine. Unfortunately, with this circle, it does support Death Machine, and now, realistically, the approach you make here is either crashing onto QODEX and taking their compound right at the edge, or trying to toss the grenades over the top and taking this fight 1-to-1 with Death Machine.
Nice spray from Modio, brought to Vito from QODEX. We're looking to try and stretch out their lead that they have over GameLord. But in the meantime, the MADBULLS are ahead in spades right now, and in position as well. So they take 1 of 4 Romanian men down on those northern foothills. QODEX going down in that compound. Only the 1 player standing, and they need yet another res.
VP have just been rocking up on these positions, catching all these players by surprise. PNL, Vito, last remaining here. Looks like Vito doesn't have any first aid kits. He's bandaging away at the moment. Chulika moves in. There's a decent compound to hold for the time being, but that's it. Death Machine takes a single knock, and this might be go time for MADBULLS. Just try and send a little bit closer, gain position. You can see them edging up just slightly. Still have 2 outside of the zone, but that's mainly to take shots down towards 4 Romanian men here, as you can see.
Spray over towards Fash, but not able to slow this push coming through from PIONER. 4 Romanian men out in the fields behind the trees. Could prove to be troublesome, but it looks like they might have been spotted. Smoke's bloomed to give them some cover, but it's not going to work out for Get Wrecked. And he will take a tumble there. Eastern Stars trying to push in. As 4 Romanian men go down on the north side.
It's a horrible position to be in. With almost 3 teams, in fact, definitely 3 teams all looking down towards you. 4 Romanian men, it was only a matter of time before they get taken down. Now VP's looking to take it to QODEX. PNL, it's underneath with a nade.
Oh dear. Top of the mountain. Things are going a little bit hairy for MADBULLS, but QODEX trying to get isolated. That nade looked like it might have had some effect there, but the basement providing sanctuary for QODEX. For the time being. Plenty of concrete between them and VP are just going to get away from this one. They know that they don't have too much time to play with. Effect, Reserble, Monkey will do so. Samo, no nades right now.
Both these teams have been sat up here for a long time, and because the circle's been on them as well, you know, they have to be very careful when they use their nades. You see Zerek here with 4. You imagine that he's not pulled the pin on any of these up until this moment. Really quite a smart player as well, because he wants to wait as long as possible to make sure that Death Machine is close enough for those nades to take any effect, because they're not getting any more loot. No one's crashing up towards the top of Everest to loot as well. It's just the utility they have on board, so they want to make sure that every single little bit of grenades, Molotovs, smokes, they absolutely count here.
Eastern Stars, VIRTUS.PRO, both looking to move up towards Everest as the top battle does rage on. QODEX with just the 1. PNL sending out right towards the MADBULLS, right towards the Eastern Stars. You've got to wonder how much further he can go here. 8 eliminated for QODEX already, though, and top 6 guaranteed. Samo goes down, and in the meantime, the MADBULLS have been taking control of the top of Everest. They will wrest it from Death Machine. They will claim it, but they need to get these reses through fast. They need to stop teams like VIRTUS.PRO moving on up. Eastern Stars as well, waiting in the wings.
Did not have to use hardly any utility for that either. So now MADBULLS can start to focus on the other teams. They do see Eastern Stars, and this is 1 nade from Zerek in his hands. Toss it down. It might just go far enough, especially with a hill.
Not too far. Just went long there on the lob. PIONER trying to push on up as well. VIRTUS.PRO spotted. Zerek finds 1, transfers the spray beautifully over onto Old Boy. 2 players from VIRTUS.PRO now alive. Keme tries to go forwards, but Athis is going to be the one to find the knock over onto the forefront player for the MADBULLS. Eastern Stars under pressure as well. All of these teams fighting against one another, but it's PIONER with all 4 alive with the numbers advantage right now.
VP, 2 down. Monkey looks towards Eastern Stars. They want to try and pick up some of these eliminations, but they don't let them have it. VP will take those points away. Very, very well done to them. They're getting all their players back up again after that really nice initial spray from Zerek. VP back up to full force, and now PIONER. These are the guys I was talking about before. They're slow, steady. They're starting to move in. There's fire all around MADBULLS at the moment. Starting to roast just a little bit as things start to heat up.
They need this res. They need to be as 3, because at the moment the circle just shifts over towards PIONER's position blank.
I can just start to head backwards. Unfortunately, it's down the hill. That's the issue of playing that. PIONER need to hold on to this aggressive position if they want to keep pushing VP as well as MADBULLS out. See Monkey taking quite the big off angle. Oh, it's PIONER who's starting to surround them. Some good smokes, and they have played this slow. Despite that, it's the 4 eliminations. This is what I'm talking about. It's just that cloak and daggers, making their way to the end game, trying to get those 15 points. And if they can start to pick up some more eliminations here as well, with their 4 players still left alive, they could get to quite a high elimination count at this point in the game.
Ooh, Havlik spotted, taking a lot of damage there. If the MADBULLS can find that opening. At the moment, PIONER a little bit split. Fash maybe spotted that cross, maybe not. A resupply there on a body. As MADBULLS try and make their way forwards, but Monkey is rebuffed and flushed on out as well. 2 players for MADBULLS. PIONER looking to try and hold out on this zone. VIRTUS.PRO, though, have other ideas. They need to push out to the west and up as well. VIRTUS.PRO have the hardest descent. Effect and skills for MADBULLS still alive.
There's just so many angles for MADBULLS they can't quite control at the moment. And PIONER just sending in, down to 1 left.
What can you do? But there's a good spray. 1 and 2. Effect looks to pick up these points. 1 player now standing against 4 from VIRTUS.PRO. There is still an entry across the way from PIONER, but they're only 2 players now. Fash and Black-White. VIRTUS.PRO taking so many points from so many different people, and now they're looking to try and take the chicken dinner to close out their day. We said that this team hasn't been super loud so far this tournament, but here is their shout into the day. Fash around the base of the rock. Looking to try and silence them, however, UMP in hand, finds a player with a nade, gets the first knock, looks for the spray, finds 2, and now Black-White cannot stand up to the descent from VIRTUS.PRO. The zone is pushing in. Fash wants to try and hold on out. There's the old switcheroo, and it's VIRTUS.PRO to take it down. Plenty of points in the bag. It's chicken dinner for VP.
Still really good wrap there from PIONER in those last moments, and distract play coming through from Black-White. MADBULLS, I would say that's another surprise for me, considering they were pushed out of the circle a fair few times. They were still able to get back in, but it's VP who takes home all the glory at the end of the day of this second day of Phase 1. Really, really well done. Honestly, the third-party game from them was so nice. So I feel like maybe not all of those eliminations they had to put all the work in for, but still a big game for them overall, and that should bump their point standings up a fair bit here. Again, though, PIONER is what we talked about at the beginning of the game. You know, they're slow, they're careful, and it's all about trying to get those points right at the end there. And it's a team that you're not looking at all the time. It's all smoke and mirrors with these guys, and I'm absolutely all for it.
Absolutely. It was a solid performance. I think, what was it, 13 elims at the end for VP, something around that sort of mark. But MADBULLS, I think they played very, very well. You highlighted not Zesh, sorry. You highlighted, the player sending down, getting those scouting information. I feel like they operated at the top of Everest well. Unfortunately, they did fall just that little bit short, but we are going to head back over to the desk.
I know a lot of climbers have lost their lives trying to climb Mount Everest, but I think we've out-tallied that here in this last match. The amount of fighting happening on top of that mountain was insane. And as Kalaris was saying while we were watching the match, I think none of us would have expected VIRTUS.PRO to actually pull that game out.
Man, they made some great transitions, didn't they? From being in ruins to pushing up against QODEX's compound, taking those north spots, and then moving through what is one of the most heavily wooded areas up to Everest, and then the approach whilst all the chaos is going on top of Everest. And it's the perfect time to do it as well. It's nice to see VIRTUS.PRO on the map here after we've been really hoping to see Na'Vi and VP really shine in these lobbies, and now they've done it.
Yeah, I mean, not even that, I would say, it's just also how they were positioned. They were waiting for the fight to break out between MADBULLS, also Death Machine and PIONER. And the moment it did, that is their timing to go push and make it closer to Everest. So the timing was on point also for VIRTUS.PRO. And hey, chicken dinner plus big eliminations coming their way. This is the type of game they needed to step back up high in the rankings. So good from them. And man, CIS is looking a little bit more present as the days go on here. You have MADBULLS in second and VIRTUS.PRO in first. It's looking a little bit, and PIONER is looking a bit scary.
I mean, the fact is, right, we're talking about VIRTUS.PRO having a good match, but MADBULLS, again, another good match, another 20-point-plus game. I mean, they're already ahead in first place. This is going to push them even further, and I'm not sure if any other team has been able to breach 100 points other than them.
I feel like this is actually going to be a day that's going to be hard to replicate across all phases, never mind even just in this phase, because it's been an absolute stellar one here for MADBULLS.
I can see some of the highlights. Yeah, right. I mean, they almost pulled a vampire off today with 3 chicken dinners in a row.
Yeah, they didn't replicate, like QODEX couldn't replicate, but the situation was replicated by another team that was MADBULLS. So they are these big pop-offs, right? But after the question is, can you remain consistent? Can you bring some, even just a similar performance, even if it's not like 2 wins and a 3rd place, but can you bring something similar? If they can do so, definitely some huge stuff. The big also success from MADBULLS in this game is the fact that they were not backfilled. I think one team only, Colaris, could have backfilled that position, was XTEAM. They decided to fight Eastern Stars instead. But if a team decides to play spoilers on MADBULLS and enter from the Western side, that is potentially the downfall of MADBULLS, but no one does it. MADBULLS got free range to push on Death Machine and pretty much allow them to get a lot of elims and potentially a win, but as you saw, the VIRTUS.PRO push was a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, and when it comes to the final moments as well, you can see them here. But with the predictions that we were making, quite honestly, I would have gone with MADBULLS as well, but I really didn't want all of 3 of us to pick the same team. But, I mean, when you see as MADBULLS kind of, they were always going to have a higher ground position against Death Machine, and Death Machine was more prone to be the team that was eventually going to get crunched down on any teams that were moving up the mountain from other directions because they were so central, they were so far towards the east side of Everest as a whole, so it's much easier to push up against them. It was going to be hard for them, regardless of situation, even though they were dead center of the circle for a long time with Death Machine, but it was very fraught with danger up on that hill.
I mean, so to talk about Death Machine just really quickly, even though they didn't win the game, I think we got to see like they're very good critical thinkers of the fights they were choosing to take, realizing the situation they were in. I think that's a really good thing to see out of obviously the Clear Vision guys. But when it comes to MVP on the day, I think we were all wrong yesterday. I think we're gonna maybe all be right today.
Were we? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, we were definitely wrong, right? Because we picked the wrong player on.
I mean, we picked Vito, but it was actually Omar. Like it was, so we were right, I believe. Just the name was wrong.
So then, who do you have for today?
Oh, right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to go with. I want to go Effect or Monkey. There's so many good players. It has to be MADBULLS, right? I want to go with Monkey because funny name. I like it.
That's your choice?
Yeah.
I guess I'll go with Effect just because funny name. Haha.
That's your MVP of the day is. Remember, at the end of the whole event, when it comes to the finals, the MVP will get an extra $1,000 for themselves.
Hey!
It will be Effect. Colaris is just, he's killing it, man.
Well, apart from in this last game, we were all... the desk in general was 100% up until this last game. We were doing so well for the day.
I appreciate you saying the desk, because I got everyone wrong. It was you and Max getting everything
Analysts.
right today. There you go.
But no, they've been great all day, right? Like watching MADBULLS play things out, I think they've been very calculated in their movements. I think they've also taken into account the group rotations, which teams have been in games, which teams haven't been in games, and constantly they find themselves better high grounds than most teams. So, or in fact, all other teams in a lot of these games. And it wasn't just an isolated incident on one battleground, it was across 3 major battlegrounds, Miramar, Erangel, and Sanhok. So to see that kind of topography knowledge, as well as their understanding of how these teams are moving around, whilst having to approach it themselves, very well done for today.
And especially because since these last 2 days, right, we've been making this point, which is that the groups make it very hard to find that consistency, to find a game plan that's going to work every single time. But it goes to show the research has been done by these guys. They adapt every single lobby, every single time a team is in and another one is out. They have a plan, they commit to it, and quickly at that, like the reaction time from this team is out there when you compare it to us, some of the other teams. So far, I'm enjoying what MADBULLS have been able to do and perform, and I just hope they can keep doing it like this because I'm sold. I think MADBULLS can retain some consistency for this whole event.
Okay, well, you know what? If any of you missed on any of the matches earlier on and why we're talking MADBULLS up so much, let's take a look at the results from today and you'll see exactly why. Yesterday, QODEX was able to get back-to-back victories in match 3 and 4, and this time we're having MADBULLS do the same, obviously on some different battlegrounds. But 10 eliminations, 13 eliminations between the 2 games, not to mention the 21 points they scored in the last match of the day. It might say MADBULLS only twice, but to be honest, MADBULLS were the star on the day.
Yeah, it could have easily been a 3-peat at the end there on that 3rd game, so not too big of an issue. And also the fact is that when they get a good spot, they get such high eliminations, 10 on the first one on Miramar, 13 also on the Sanhok. That is a very important thing. It's not just a small games like we saw from Big on that first game where they only got 3 eliminations, right? They actually take home some big points to make sure they are high in the rankings, and currently reigning supreme. Who can contest with them so far? It was their day and only them really showing up.
I really was impressed by the Sanhok game. Again, it took into account so many factors that are playing out here in a phase in PMPL Western Europe, and the way they were transitioning from the position that they initially established on that northwest island. Very, very cool stuff.
Well, let's actually take a look at overalls. Max, you're wondering what team could potentially catch up to them. We know they should have at least a 30-point lead, almost that. Actually, QODEX going to be getting second place back for themselves, but still a lead nonetheless here. And I wish I knew how many points on the day MADBULLS got. Actually, I can look that up if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
Yesterday, they had
40.
Yeah, 40 in 7th place. They almost gained 100 points on a day.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled a QODEX from yesterday, which is really good. QODEX, though, a way lower performance. QODEX started off today with 79 points. Here they're on 109, so only a 30-point day for them. Not quite what you were potentially expecting, but QODEX is fine. No, you have good days and bad days. That is okay. But Eastern Stars have, remained up there. They're getting a few decent points here and there, able to breach 100 points right now. They got 52 points on yesterday. Today, they got himself an extra, what is that, 48? So they are consistently getting points in, getting that 10-point average minimum every game. So Eastern Stars really showing big.
Okay, well, we can see Team Doom able to get up to 14th place, TJB in 15th, ARB in 16th. Unfortunately, Navi there in 12th place. And as you look further down the list here, XTEAM, unfortunately, again, they had almost the biggest point-scoring game ever in PMPL history. I think it was like 3rd overall in the world at 39 points. But they're only sitting on 12 after 8 matches.
This was a 3-point day for XTEAM. Wow. Pretty rough for them. I will say, though, you mentioned Team Doom as well. I would consider this a bit of a win for Team Doom for today. Yesterday, they got 9 points on the board. They were joint last with XTEAM. However, they've gained themselves 30-some points here. Not too bad. It will be able to bump them up at a nice, steady pace.
Okay. Well, you know what, Max? Your time has come. We have an interview with Game Lord, but you're going to be the one doing it, and you're going to be doing it in French and translating to English. Yes. So why don't you take it away, Max?
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. I'm going to be interviewer this time around, not host, but we're going to be taking it over. And here we go. Thanks so much, Robs, for joining us on the interview.
Hello.
And I hope you had an absolutely fantastic day. But I'm going to jump right into the first question, Robs, and I'm going to translate it. Don't worry too much. I wanted to ask you, how have you and the team been preparing going to this event, and in French it is. Comment est-ce que toi et la team avez-vous préparé pour entrer dans l'événement?
On a préparé cet événement depuis plusieurs mois maintenant avec les nouveaux changements de roster. On est focalisé à 4 joueurs et voilà, on s'est préparé pendant 2-3 mois. Ensuite, on a fait beaucoup de scrims de 16, 20, 23 heures. Et là, maintenant, on est prêt. On va tout donner pour réussir à choper cette première place pour ce PMPL.
Okay. So they had a lot of roster changes happening. Many was Trazing leaving the team. Now they're mainly focused on their main 4-man roster, and they had a lot of scrims to prepare for this event for like 2 to 3 months. And now they're feeling very confident in their capabilities to perform in this PMPL. Next question I'm going to go on is, what main changes would you say you and the team have made, in your macro at least, from spring season into fall season? Donc, quel changement est-ce que toi et la team vous avez fait par rapport à la dernière saison en termes de macro et de gameplay principalement?
On a toujours le même coach, on a changé quelques stratégies qu'on s'est inspiré de quelques teams. Et des fois on peut jouer edge, on peut jouer côté de zone edge, on peut jouer aussi mid zone, ça dépend. Donc voilà, on a un petit peu changé la stratégie, mais ça reste un peu la même.
Okay. So they kept the same coach from the last season, so no change on that side. But compared to last season where they would have a lot more edge-focused gameplay, here they're trying to have a little bit more versatility so they can play edge and also center to make sure they can adapt to pretty much every situation coming up. Moving on also, how do you feel about your performance so far in this tournament with only 2 days of play? Comment et toi la team vous vous sentez après 2 jours de play dans le tournoi?
On se sent très bien, on a bien commencé, là on finit à une place de moins, mais on se sent confiant, on va continuer à faire le meilleur de nous-mêmes et pour la communauté française et garder pourquoi pas cette première place au classement PMGC et classement de points PMGC et aller chercher bien sûr cette première place au PMPL et surtout aussi se qualifier pour les finales du PMPL et après l'European Championship, etc.
So they're feeling good so far. Could have made potentially a little bit of a better improvement in these last 2 days, but feeling overall really good and also mainly hoping to remain in that first place for the race to PMGC and hoping to qualify into the championship. So far they're feeling good and they've had some good success, so hopefully they can make it into the PMGC.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much here, Robs, for the interview. Really appreciate you taking
No problem.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to send a message out there to the French fans that will support you and Game Lord along the way. So à toi pour les messages pour les fans si t'en as.
Ok, bah, je vous remercie tout le monde hein, dans le chat, on vous voit, tous les Français, même copier-coller pour le cast. Et voilà, c'est juste un petit message de merci à vous et continuez de nous supporter jusqu'à la fin. On va tout donner cette saison pour aller au PMGC et pourquoi pas aller dans les 16 équipes jouer contre Nova, la meilleure team du monde, ce serait super bien.
There you go. He says, thanks so much to everyone supporting Gamelord, and also thank you very much to Copie Collet, one of the French casters covering this event right now. They're hoping they can make it over in PMGC and be the French representative, and hopefully fight versus Nova Esports in the grand finals. But yeah, Robs, once again, thank you so much for the interview. Really appreciate it.
Merci,
and
Max.
Best of luck going into the next few days.
Merci beaucoup. Bye bye.
Not bad. Not bad, Max.
Absolutely.
That took
What
all
a
my
legend.
brain power.
You should have seen him before he did the interview. He's like, oh, what do I ask? What do I do? How do I speak French? I don't know. Killed it, Max. Good
Voulez-vous le
job.
français? Ouais, je sais pas.
No. Translate. Go back to the English brain.
Okay, it's back.
There you go.
Hello. Okay, good. And
Okay, good. We made it. No, fantastic job, and good to hear from Rob as well, mentioning about Trazen leaving the team and obviously the adaptations they've had to make. Really cool to hear from him, and really cool to hear Max speak French for once.
Yeah, so I didn't think that was going to happen today. That was a surprise. But yeah, it's cool to see that their focus is still, on PMGC. They know that they're currently leaders when it comes to the potential PMGC points counting in. So I really hope to see them perform. And they want to fight versus Nova. So I'm really hyped to see how that's going to work out for them.
Well, Max, I hope you're brushing up on your Mandarin because we're interviewing TJB tomorrow, and that's going to be all on you yet again.
Oh, no.
No, gentlemen, thank you so much, obviously, for being here with me for the day, and obviously all of you at home who have been watching the matches. But we have to end off for today. But tomorrow we'll be back. We'll have our final day of our first little stint here in Phase 1, and we'll take a little bit of a break before coming back into it next week. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more PUBG Mobile action.